September's here. That means footy finals, boys. 2 epic AFL semi-finals with plenty of drama in both games, especially late and post-game. 6 teams left in the NRL, but can anyone match the Panthers or the Storm? NFL, week 1 in the books. Tua copped a nasty concussion in Thursday night football, and we'll look ahead to the Sunday games in week 2, which start in about 7 hours. Cricket, it's one apiece in Australia versus England, the T20s. Not too far away from the summer of cricket down under. Can start talking summer of cricket things. The EPL, Haaland and Man City are off to a flying start. The North London derby kicks off pretty shortly, and the Socceroos have got a lot of work to do to qualify for the World Cup, plus a massive final round. UFC Noche, the Mexican-themed extravaganza at the Sphere Vegas, had a new world champ. Plus, they went head-to-head with Mexican royalty in the pay-per-view viewings and going straight ahead into head-to-head with Canelo in the boxing. Plus, the F1 is in Baku, Azerbaijan. It will unfold as we are live. This is On The Esky, Aussie Sports Podcast. We like our Aussie sports. We like our US sports. We have timestamps. You can skip to the sports that you like on YouTube. And you can give us a subscription, pretty please, on the YouTube's Instagram, Facebook, and the like. We like to start this show by shouting a beer. Shauno is the man on my left. How are you, and who are you shouting?
Very good, very good. I'm going to shout out Adrian Newey, who's just signed to go to Aston Martin. I think the interesting thing out of that is he's a car engineer or car designer. Mm-hmm. He's more a technical guy behind the scenes. And if I had to ask you, how much do you think he's going to get paid per year to go over and join Aston Martin over there?
I'm going to imagine less than what he gets when he's an engineer.
Well, well, that's the thing. He gets a significant bit of money. It turns out he's going to get about £30 million per year is his salary. And if you do the quick math on that and where the drivers are, that would make him the 3rd highest paid driver.
Really?
Yeah, as a comparison. And the reason you pay him so much is the 12 constructors, the 13 drivers championships that have come off the teams that he's been with, and 220 total GP wins across the 3 teams that he's been with. So he is the
savant.
Savant of F1. He's the guy that has led to multiple championships in the last 20 to 30 years. Actually, he's been in the F1 scene for a very, very long time. But yeah, he seems to know the regulations and seems to know how to design and build a really, really good car. So, that's awesome for that team. They've got Alonso and young Stroll there, and old man Stroll. The rumours are he still wants to get Max Verstappen, which, potentially could bring him across and move his son into the Euro class, the endurance class that they've got, and he can race in that. And they're trying to, I guess, capitalise on the fact that they've got Adrian Newey now, who's, was at Red Bull, that connection with Max, and then the fact that there's still that friction between Marco and Horner as well, with everyone kind of leaving Horner and Marco, with the whole back and forth they had at the start of the season, and it looks like that power struggle hasn't ended. So the other teams are trying to capitalise on the, I guess, diamonds that are coming out of that team and to bring them over and snatch them and bring him over to their team. So, big shout out B. He probably doesn't need it. With his £30 million a year, he'll be able to turn that into some good alcohol.
Newey Design Cars have won 12 World Constructors and 13 World Drivers Championships, formerly with Williams in the 90s and Red Bull since about 2010. And
McLaren in there in the middle.
Yeah, and McLaren in there, and drivers that have driven his car. He spoke about Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel before him, Mika Häkkinen, Alain Prost, to name a few.
Damon Hill's in there too. So Nigel Mansell all the way back at the start. So
yeah, that's crazy. I hadn't realised he's been in there for so long.
Yeah, he's been around for a very long time.
He's 65 years of age.
Yeah. Obviously, Red Bull and Aston Martin did have the sort of link up back in the day as well, when Aston Martin was their title sponsor. But also, I was just reading reports. It's also understood that Newey has also received a 2.5% stake in Aston Martin, which is potentially worth $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yeah. So that's a significant amount, and try to grow that team into a massive like Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari, where they are currently. They do have the Honda package coming as well, and Honda's worked with Red Bull too. So Honda's coming back in as an engine supplier, and they'll have those engines next season. So, Alonso looks like he's going to keep racing well into his 40s. So he's a former world champion himself. And, if they can steal someone like Max to come across, then there'll be a team on the rise.
Do you reckon it's too soon to say how well they're going to do next season with Newey, or
I think?
Do you reckon this is all aiming for 2026?
Well, I think how it works, that car's also probably fairly along in its development as well. So yes, maybe it had some improvements on to where it is now than where it is currently. But I think 2026 is where you'll see the full benefit of his involvement from the get-go.
Well, speaking of blokes who have got plenty of money that probably don't need a beer from a small Australian podcast, Shohei Ohtani, friend of the show, or would want to be with all these beers that we're sending over to him. You've shouted him a beer before. You shouted him a beer last step, I believe.
Yep.
It seems like he's going to get the 50-50 barring some kind of injury.
Well, he set that record of 43 and 43, breaking it, and now, extending it well out of reach.
So sits on, at time of recording, Sunday night over here in Canberra, Australia. 47 home runs, 48 steals. There's 14 games remaining. Barring catastrophe, we'll get at least 50-50. And Aaron Judge leads at the moment with 52 home runs. So probably not going to catch him for most homers, but incredible year from the both of them. And so incredible that you get me talking a bit of baseball. It's very, very unusual. Anyone that's listened to the show would know that. In a group chat today, they were arguing about who's a better player. I can't weigh in on that because I barely watch it, but incredible how well they're both doing. And the Yankees and Dodgers both leading their respective divisions, and one's in the American League, one's in the National League. We could see them go head-to-head in the World Series. Playoffs begin start of October, so a couple of weeks left of regular season games there in the Major League Baseball.
And both of those guys are probably likely to be the MVPs for those leagues as well. So,
have separate MVPs. Was today days old when I found that out. Monks, who you got?
Yep. Yeah. This week I am shouting Caleb Williams a beer. So Caleb Williams, starting for the Bears last week in his rookie season, is the fourth quarterback to be drafted first overall and win in week one. And this is in the NFL era, so since 1997. There's only been three other quarterbacks to do it.
1967.
Yeah, we're 1960. The stat I read was specifically 1970. What did I say?
I don't know what you said. Anyway,
you said 96 or something.
I fucked up your mojo.
No, it's all right.
1970.
They are good quarterbacks. So Jim Plunkett back in 1971 did it. John Elway did it in 1983, although he didn't have a great game. The team did win. And David Carr was the last one to do it in 2002. In that time period, there's been 28 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. So,
First overall.
Sorry. Yep. So
428. Pretty rare.
Pretty rare.
Makes sense. You go into one of the worst teams from the year before.
That's it. Albeit, probably Caleb Williams probably in himself didn't have the best game.
Yeah, pretty ordinary game.
Defense bailed him out a little bit.
Yeah, considering was there only field goals on offense?
Yeah, they didn't score on offense, and their defense and special teams, I think, both scored. So, well done to the Bears and Caleb Williams, sort of.
Yeah. He got at least a beer out of it. And mop of the week.
Yes. Interesting one for fans of the NFL. Interesting one for punters, of which I am both. Bet365 was caught out for changing the odds after taking bets in Monday Night Football on Jordan Mason. They'd set their rushing line for Jordan Mason at 13.5 yards. Anyone that watched the game...
secondary for that.
Yeah, he broke the 13.5 yards pretty quick. Now, had Christian McCaffrey been playing, that might have been a reasonable unders-overs for Jordan Mason. Whole lot of hoopla here in Jordan Mason saying to the media that he knew that...
Friday night
Friday night, that he would be starting, and then that he sort of said, "Oh no, I mixed my words." They said, "Be ready to start."
Yeah,
but obviously he knew what was going on, and punters and fantasy owners around the globe pretty upset with the news that Christian McCaffrey is going on to IR today.
Yep.
Had been reported as a calf injury,
especially those first round draft picks for fantasy.
I've got him in 2 out of my 3 leagues. So get at me in the comments here. Let's say if you want to trade for CMC. So pretty much they said that we have identified that the selection was placed at incorrect odds, and as such, in accordance with our rules,
so our terms and conditions, essentially,
we'll settle at them at the revised odds of minus 5,000, which is like our $1.02, $1.01 essentially.
Yeah.
No, it's $1.02. I think minus 5,000.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank God the regulatory body sort of stepped in and said, no, you can't do that after people have placed their bets.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had to pay out all those bets or what.
It seems like they had been, from what I saw online, that they were paying them out.
For a betting company, like, come on. Just take your L's, man. You're rinsing everyone.
Exactly.
It's a license to print money, essentially, if you get it on a big enough platform. Bet365 is a big betting platform, company as well. Like, internationally, they're big boys. Yeah. And they got caught out doing the dirty against the poor punters of America and wherever else. So get a big old mop from us down under here, Bet365. You got to pay up. You can't be changing your odds after accepting bets.
Yeah, and I don't think anything has come out of the NFL, because I think because the NFL will. I think if they wanted to do more digging into the Mason situation and whether he actually knew or not, because they do want to be very careful with the betting, because I think we talked about it previously, but they're expecting about $35 billion to be bet on the NFL this season. So it's ridiculous money. So they also want to be careful of the parity and fairness in the league as well, that they're not doing stitch-ups. So if a team knew that they were holding someone off and they've told him and that information spreads, then that can be quite a big issue for them. But I think, as expected, the 49ers downplayed it. I think I said to you guys, they'll probably cover it up as best as they can. 100%. They're just like, mince his words. He didn't. It wasn't like you're starting. It was more like you probably will. But having said that, they're putting CMC on IR, so he's obviously worse than potentially. I was actually interested to ask you about that injury too, because
anyone knows anything about the human
calf soreness into Achilles. Was it tendonitis? Or?
Yeah, tendinopathy is what they're reporting. Very painful condition, commonly seen in runners. It's not so much a fast twitch injury, which makes me wonder: is there a partial tear in his Achilles as well?
Exactly.
So
he's a dude that loves to put in too much work. Like he's an overworker for sure. But whether that's played into this at all with probably doing too much work and he's worn himself out, or
the whole thing stinks.
To me, it definitely does.
Yeah, that's something
which is why they're
clearly
not
known about for quite some time. And
because he didn't play any preseason, and he unlikely to play anyway, but didn't really train very much because they know. I think if they push him, they could rupture his Achilles, and that's his career done essentially. That kind of age is for a running back.
Yeah. And tendinopathy does put you at very slightly higher risk of rupture. A partial tear puts you at a massive risk for full rupture. So anyways, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But as of this weekend, CMC is on IR. He'll have to miss 4 games because of that. And CMC owners, fantasy leagues around the world, wondering what to do.
And the Madden curse is like, you might have forgotten about me, but I'm back.
Death taxes and the Madden curse, baby. Crazy.
Yeah.
We will talk a whole bunch of NFL in a couple of segments' time. Like we said, it's 3 a.m. start for the early window, so not actually that far away from Sunday football.
Yep. We're going to start with some AFL, I think, some Aussie footy.
Yeah, let's go.
It depends if Daily Fingers can get to it.
We've gone AFL first. We often go league first, so that might have thrown out his mojo as well. We'll just quickly
recap.
Recap. We didn't pod last weekend, but obviously first round of finals last weekend. Geelong smacked up Port on their own turf over there at the Adelaide Oval, 138 points to 54. Jez Cameron, Tyson Stengel, good in that one. Zach Butters subbing out At halftime, they had suspected maybe a rib fracture. X-rays come back good.
Yep.
And he played this weekend. Some people questioning his toughness. Ken Hinkley pretty quick to back him up, saying that, he's the toughest bloke on their team.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, they're getting hammered by 70 odd, but
it's not worth risking.
Yeah, there's that too. So
and acutely, it can be hard to tell if someone's got.
Yeah, he could be saying, I'm in a lot of pain. Like it doesn't feel right. I'm significantly winded and whatever. And he's just like, give me a break.
It's always funny the people in the comments questioning toughness, and then you click on their profile and you're like, that is the least tough looking guy I've seen on the internet today.
The flip side of that is also the Petrarca stuff. Like they're the opposite, and they send him back out there with when they shouldn't have. So. Yeah, I guess it's just like, we're being cautious as well. So you can't question his toughness and then, then blame the club for sending a Petrarca back out there as an example.
It's almost like the armchair experts of Australia shouldn't be questioning the decisions of elite medical teams, which we often do on this podcast.
Hey, we're elite medical professionals, aren't we?
I've got that Dr. Nick certification, right?
The sticky thing's connected to my wristwatch. All right, first elimination final was a pretty one-sided affair. The scoreline probably didn't reflect, in the end, how dominant the Hawks were in this one. 14-15, 99 beats 9-8-62 in a packed house there at the MCG, about 97,500 in there. Massive, massive crowd.
Yeah, there was some interesting about that because all the other big AFL teams were outside Melbourne, so their big thing is, hey, we get crowds and we get them to the MCG, but then they had to play the first elimination final was the big game. We got the Friday night slot, so compared to you couldn't have your top premier teams at that point. Essentially, you guys are there in 1 and 2 because they're playing elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the AFL watching Collingwood, Carlton, and Essendon all shit the bed in the last 6 weeks.
Come on, we needed you.
But good to see a full G there last week, and good to see the Hawks flying, I suppose.
Good young team.
Yeah, so the two 19-year-olds pretty good up front. Nick the Wizard Watson. There was pretty much a whole bay of people in Wizard kit watching him kick 4, and Cole Shadir kicking 3 for a big-bodied 19-year-old. It's pretty incredible how well he's been going. Normally takes a while for key forwards to sort of grow into that position. John Newcomb, very good. As usual, he had 35 and a goal in that one. And at the end of the Dogs season, but probably the biggest stories since the game finished, both Bailey Smith and Jack McRae won out.
Yep. And I don't want to say it's a numbers game, but they've got a lot of names and bodies in that midfield already.
Yeah.
And, it's not like the All-Australians, you play them on the wing or up forward. So you have to play them in the mids. And I think, with Smith kind of being out all year, he's probably looking for a fresh start. Rumours about Geelong, and you're just like, fuck, no, don't.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't. But, yeah, that's some, quality mids and decent names that are looking to go elsewhere.
Yep. Go to North, boys. Come on. Richmond. Have you got anything there on Jack McRae as well? Because obviously Bailey Smith is a walking headline given his mullet and boyish good looks.
Yes, the model
and I'd already read a little bit about him. I didn't know about McRae requesting the trade, but that midweek looks like
Very
Jack
recent.
McRae.
Yeah.
See if you can find any links with teams there, Monks, or if they've just requested trades. Let's talk about the Battle of the Bridge whilst you're chasing that up there, Monks. The second qualifying final was a beauty. Swans coming away 6-point winners, 88-82 at a packed SCG last Saturday. Isaac Heaney, is that the best mark all season? Yes, I would say so. Probably the best mark in recent memory. And shout out to the bloke whose head he was riding, who sort of instinctively grabbed his arm as he was coming back down, saved him from landing on his head. That was pretty quick thinking there. Heaney had 3 goals and 30 disposals in this one. It's a shame that we're not going to see him.
So good.
Yeah, Brownlow night due to the suspension. It was probably his had he not been suspended. 3 goals each to Aaron Cadman and Jesse Hogan. Not enough in a losing effort. And we'll get to GWS in a second. 2 games and 2 losses. They're Gonskis.
Yeah, and they had a big lead in this one as well. So
Gave up 2 big leads in the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Can't give up a big lead if you don't have a lead in the whole game. That's what Carlton did. in this one. 14-15-99 to 11-5-71.
Did close the gap
Yeah,
significantly,
that final score actually looks quite flattering.
Yeah. But I think Brisbane kind of put it in first gear and chugged along to get to the end.
Yeah, you're up like that in games. It was 60-0.
Yep, that's what we're talking about. 60-0.
Blues just didn't get off the bus at all. I think in that third quarter, fourth quarter, you're just going into injury management or prevention sort of mode and just trying to make sure that, lots of people are getting a good rest. And
Get all the subs out.
Yeah, and Blues made it semi-respectable, I suppose, at the end. No Charlie Curno's hard, did not overcome his ankle injury. They did have Big Harry McKay in there. Sam Doherty as well, coming back same season as doing his ACL.
I think you guys were talking about one of the fastest ACL recovers anywhere. So
I think it's definitely the fastest in the AFL.
Yep.
We're trying to look across to the NFL to see if anyone's come back in 6 months, and we couldn't find anyone.
There was one in college football, came back a day earlier.
1 day.
It was like 1 day earlier.
Yeah, incredible.
Yep.
You remember the old benchmark of Adrian Peterson in 8 months, and that was like mind-blowing.
He did also run almost for 2K, I think, the following season. So it's also wild to like have an MVP post ACL. Yeah,
exactly.
Because usually it takes, you expect like a 30% reduction in production following some sort of injury, and it's the following year that you expect to return to 100%. But yeah,
he came back and had an MVP caliber season.
He's a wild human.
Yeah, pretty disappointing for the Blues, although given they'd lost...
Sniffed it, snuck themselves in there.
That's right, given they'd lost a fortnight before, we're kind of lucky to be there in the first place, really.
Yes.
All right, this week, let's talk some semi-finals. Did you have anything there on Jack McRae?
No news, just rumours.
Just rumours?
He's asked the team that he wants to trade.
Yeah, just trade.
So it's Amari Rogers with the ACL recovery. Was he at Clemson?
I think so.
It looks like Clemson.
Yep. 173 days.
Yep.
Was Doc 174? I thought he was in the 180s. Anyways, it's a week.
It was. Must have been within the week then.
Yeah.
Not days. Yeah.
Which
still
is incredible.
But I mean, still
within the 6 month kind of turnaround. So yeah.
Semi-finals, they were two crackers. Friday night, Port won 11-9-75 to 11-6-72 over Hawthorn. They started pretty strong, and then Hawks. We were chatting in the groupie for Port, hey, and then Hawthorn just went bang, 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 string of free kicks, and by halftime they were back in the game.
Yeah,
it went down to it, and James Sicily would be absolutely filthy with himself, hitting the post in what would have been a go-ahead goal. Obviously, it doesn't come down to that one kick, but that's, it really was only a few inches, and it could have been a completely different result. Hawthorn's incredible run comes to an end. It was a boisterous Adelaide Oval there on Friday night. It was very, very loud, and plenty of Hawks fans in there as well. And then sort of to take away from an incredible game of footy was the scenes that unfolded in the last the few minutes following, with Ken Hinkley and James Sicily exchanging some words. All started with Jack Ginnivan's comment on former teammate Brodie Grundy's post. Said, "See you in 14 days."
Overlooking Port.
Yeah, that's right. There's nothing that stands between us and this prelim final.
Exactly.
Is how it sort of seemed from young Ginnivan's comment.
Shoot your shot.
Yeah.
Hinkley said something to him, and then Sicily obviously took a lot of offence, being the captain, obviously cranky with himself as well for hitting the post just moments before. They got into a bit of a war of words, and it came out today that Hinkley had been fined $20,000 for conduct unbecoming. What was our take on this one, boys?
I feel like the media's probably throwing a bit of extra mayo on this one. As they always do. But, if you're gonna, it's the old adage. If you're gonna dish out some medicine, you might as well be able to take it as well. Yeah. So I think it's just a bit of words back and forth, and you can, a bit of banter is always fine. Like, I don't see, even if it comes from the coach. Some of the best comes from the coach as well.
I disagree in that. You can't. I don't think you can put it down to banter when it's a coach and a player.
I
This is a
I think
57-year-old man talking to a 21-year-old.
Bro, have you seen some of those NFL coaches get stuck into the guys? Like, it's
that is
so
true.
ridiculous.
That is true.
Like, it's,
well, the AFL obviously agrees, giving him 20
yeah,
grand.
but the AFL's all backwards, so we know that.
It'd be interesting to see what's said because obviously, like,
Yeah.
they've given him the fine. Sicily was very fired up afterwards
really.
as well.
Yeah, he did apologise in his post match. Like it got
Sure.
like the emotions out there while they're there at the time got the better of him. But
Yeah, and we don't know exactly what was said either.
Yeah.
So,
And you do sort of have a look at Port's run into the finals. They were dropping.
what's the thing? Like,
Games,
he's getting
they-
hammered in the media for having no emotion, being able to get this club going, firing them up, and then he does this and they slam him again. And it's just like
You can't win.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
To me, it's much to do about nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I think if you're a head coach of a professional outfit, you
Yeah.
probably shouldn't be saying anything.
I'll go the other way.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we can agree. That
Hey, go watch American sports.
it is quite different. And
It is very different.
And then context of sports is different as well. We know.
Yeah,
we are big
I guess
fans-
a sideline
we are fans
coach
of
is
the
a
NFL
bit
as
different
well.
than a guy that's might be sitting in the box the whole time. But either way,
I mean, yeah. There's probably something different about, again, there's banter and like you can have chippy words across the field and stuff. But what happened here after the game, getting everyone fired up, like you won the game. You didn't have to say anything. You could just walk off.
And it's an abuse of the power dynamic as well.
but the real question is, did he call him a see you next Tuesday?
and if that's the case, and he was in the Major League Soccer, he should be getting a 2-match suspension. See last pod or I can't remember the bloke's name, but Aussie over in the Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
And a lot of it we're speculating here because we don't really know the exact words that were said. So
again, it was probably not a whole bunch. It's probably like have a nice off season kind of thing. It's like make sure you enjoy those beers at the pub kind of thing. And
I reckon there's a little bit more in it than that.
yeah, there's probably a few swear words that I just mentioned before. But yeah, I think that's kind of what it was. But yeah. Don't lose. Don't put the comms out, don't lose. But it's an easy way to solve that problem. Or if you're going to put them out there, back it up.
Yeah. If you're going to talk shit, don't lose.
Yep.
It did take away from Luke Bruce, who was getting chaired off his 300th and final AFL game. Bit of a Hawthorn legend, plenty of flags, lots of goals. So I don't know if that come into it as well. Maybe it's a little bit
emotional on both sides.
Yeah, and also maybe from Ken to be a little bit more aware of that situation there.
He's just happy they won a game at home. So
yeah, well, could you imagine the week that they've had in the Adelaide media?
If they'd lost that game, he's getting sacked. Like or going very close to it because they're going to be after him.
Yeah,
this is like so I can see his side was like he's fired up. They're frustrated because they've lost. Just probably a lot more than it needed to be.
Anyways, I did say to you boys in the groupie after this one, need to write this down and be very aware of the next time that a team gets belted in the qualifying finals, because it's 12 games in a row where the team that has been beaten by 50 or more points in week 1 of the finals goes on to win in week 2. Yeah. That's a stat that goes back to 2000. So, pretty much every other year that's happened over the last 24 years. Yep. I didn't take that into account in any same game multis that I put on for this one. The other question here is are Port Adelaide better without Charlie Dixon? I think the answer is yes. I think Georgiadis and Marshall are showing that they can do enough as key forwards, and then using their.
Is he too much of a traditional big?
Yeah, he's got a huge frame. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if
there's that too.
If
like
he's
definitely
missed footy this year. If he just doesn't have enough run in his legs at the moment. He was a late scratching from this one. Opened the door for the 19-year-old Lorenz to be the sub. He got on the field, didn't have a whole lot of impact, but. I think it's going to be an interesting thing, pending his physical fitness, whether or not he gets a start in a prelim at the moment, because certainly they haven't looked that bad when he hasn't played.
Yep.
And the other point here is, Hawthorn's going to be good in the coming years.
Well, we were talking on like last season. It was just like how's their retooling going? They're getting all the young fellas, how they're going to be, and we've already seen that they've taken that step. So, talk about windows, that window's starting to creep open, and they're going to be so young for many years. So they're going to have that window nice and open for the foreseeable future, you'd think. You'd think these guys are going to get better, and they'll be challenging.
I know recency bias is massive, and we all do it. Everyone that's in sports, the short term memory is always something that's very strong. But you look at the way that they've played over the last 10 weeks, and the fact that like we're talking,
just got red hot, all the momentum.
The fact that Watson and Deere are 19, I think Jai Newcomb's 22 or something. They get bolstered in the back six next year. Josh Battle come across. Tom Barris going to come across. I think Massimo D'Ambrosio's 21. This playing group, a lot of their big names are really going to be coming into the peak of their career over the next 2 to 3 years. If they keep them together, it's kind of like flag or bust kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're kind of where the Swans were like a year or two ago. So
that's good. I like that analogy with Warner and Goulden and stuff when they were like 19 and now they're like 21 and you're like, fuck.
They almost won the minor premier at halfway through the season. So they're just, it kind of goes that way. And you can see, it's not a club that's bought all these veteran guys, had one good year, and they're all, they're on their last legs. We know they're young. They should only improve. They're only going to get better, hopefully, going forward. And they've already made a finals on a red hot run. If they can just get that consistency going forward, they're going to be regular guys there at the top of the league.
Mike's just got the list there. Yeah, other than Bruce and Gunston, pretty much everyone there is in their 20s or 19, which is scary to think. How old's Sicily? Is he 30? Can you click on him? Chad Wingard as well, but he hasn't really been, Port Adelaide Chad since joining the Hawks. 29, turns 30 in January. So Sicily's going to be the old head amongst the whole. Yeah, how old's Sam Frost? Hasn't been key to their success. 31. So they've got a handful of guys that will be in their 30s next year, but it's a young list, that's for sure.
Yep. It's good to have like that leadership there though, and then like sort of mentoring the young guns as well. So good mix.
They're going to be scary.
Yeah.
Semi-final 2 last night. Brisbane 15-15, 105. GWS 15-10, 100. Alluded to it before, but it's 2 weeks, 2 big bottlings of lead from the Orange team. 44 points. They were up in the third quarter. Second biggest comeback win in finals ever for the Lions. You're a Lions man here on my left.
Yep.
How was morale last night?
Oh, pretty good. Mum and Dad went out to this one and got in the sheds and said the morale in the sheds was very high. The boys,
imagine so.
The boys were
winning.
The vibe was very good. Like they were really happy that they managed to pull it out. They obviously played poorly to get so far behind. Wasn't what they thought they were about, and then they just got the roll on and got what they needed. For us, Jared Berry played really well.
Yeah, 27
as well, and I think Ashcroft is, a big difference from what they had compared to last year's finals as well. He was very good and very difficult to tackle. So I think they might not have had the big goal scorers that say GWS had with Hogan kicking 5, but I think they just managed to work their way back into it, and Danaher had a few screamers himself of goals to get them back into it.
Now, with your one-eyed Queensland glasses on, which we've definitely seen when it comes to State of Origin, not that we look at it, completely 50-50, sometimes put our blue glasses on when it comes to State of Origin.
Penny counts don't matter.
What was our thoughts around that Danaher free kick with the intentional out of bounds? To me, it looked like, if anything, it was a push in the back.
Yeah.
Thoughts? He still had to kick it. It was from the pocket.
Yeah.
And there was 3.5 minutes left there as well. A lot of people saying, it's ruined the game. Well,
they did also give up a 44-point leads. There is that part of it. But I think, like you're saying, not that the ref thinks about, he's probably not going to kick it from there. But,
I don't think that crosses his mind at all.
But as in, it's... To them, it's an incidental thing. Maybe
and you
they're
have
thinking
to call it like that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're not thinking, oh, that's a 53, going to put it right on the goal square, and that could be the game kind of penalty they're giving, penalty they're giving away. So, it's something that was like that's more incidental is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But then Big Joe just turned it into 6 points. So
it's a good kick. And they're still behind at that stage,
Exactly.
albeit by a point, and there's 3 minutes left. It's hard in AFL footy when it's this close.
Yep.
There's not much.
Do you put the whistle away completely, and then everyone complains.
Exactly.
Everything gets
Yeah.
so.
But I also kind of think it's got to be like cut and dry and it shouldn't matter what stage of the game or stage of the season it is, but it kind of does.
Yeah. Aussie football leagues with lots of grey shock.
And just every comment, I was like, look at on the AFL posted the video of it, and just every comment was anti-umpire in this circumstance. But yeah, like you said, the umpires didn't make him give up 44 points.
Exactly. And, didn't make him kick that goal to still be behind, and then didn't allow them to then, kick a further goal to actually get the win in the game. So there was a lot. It's not like one play decided the whole game. As well.
No. Agreed. It's the same thing with Sicily hitting the post as well. That's just flip of the coin kind of stuff.
You'd hope to convert, but it's the same thing. Like that's not the one moment that lost you that whole game.
That's right. No one's blaming Sicily.
Yeah, there's more chances they had throughout the rest of the game to be able to potentially win it themselves.
Yeah, and it's not the perfect analogy, but I kind of like where we're going here, because you're not seeing everyone say, "Oh, James Sicily's just lost us a fucking semi." No, they're just like, well, that's 50-50, 6 inches the other way, and Hawthorn's in a prelim.
Exactly.
And it's hard because the umpire's going to make a decision in a split second, and they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Correct. Always will be.
But certainly watching it again, questionable, I will put it that way. Marks, can you get some Jared Lyons numbers up here? So retiring end of season.
I don't think he's been playing that much in the top grade this year.
No, so if you could just get up his numbers.
Yeah, had a really big part of their rebuilding last year as well. But he's definitely on the back end of his career after coming. We came across from the Suns. They really re-energized him. He was really good for the Lions post his son's career. But it's kind of fallen
he almost
out of favour.
got better at the end of his career.
Yeah, he did. He really did after he come from the Suns to the Lions. So they obviously unlocked something with his potential, because he was almost best on ground for them for competing for best on ground for the Lions for a very long for a lot of those seasons as well. So only 32, but kind of I think fell out of favour with the starting lineup, and started to call it quits. Call it time.
Yeah, that's it.
Only played 3 games this season.
Yeah, only 10 last year.
After playing 10. So it was really 21-22 where he was playing his best footy. Monks, you got total games there and years and whatnot?
Yeah. So was drafted in 2010, number 61 overall. Debuted in 2012, round 5 for Adelaide against Port Adelaide. Played
showdown. Good place to debut.
That's it. Played for Adelaide, played 55 games, scored 32 goals, then moved up to the Gold Coast, played 37 games, 17 goals there, and then, the long tenure with the Lions. 102 games with 37 goals there, totaling 194 games and 86 goals in total across the years.
So I imagine, are their reserves still going? Do you know? Is he having a run with them?
The VFL should be still going. I don't think it's...
You can chase that one up, Mats.
The final should be soon.
Yeah. We'll run it into
he had a couple
into
of
some
injuries.
prelims. I think he might be playing with them in the VFL.
Yeah.
Is my feeling. Prelims next weekend. So Friday night, Sydney will take on Port Adelaide at the SCG. This will be Dane Rampy's 250th. Poor bloke's played in 3 losing GFs, along with teammates Jake Lloyd and Luke Parker. So not only will they want to make the GF, they'll want to win a flag, these fellas. Not that anyone doesn't want to win a flag, but these guys maybe have got some extra incentive.
Yeah. Especially if you're in the back end of your career. So your chances are getting more limited. So
100%. This I imagine will definitely be Parker's last year, and then Lloyd and Rampy probably not long left either. Swans last won the flag in 2012 against the Hawks. Parker was sub in that one. And then, Lloyd and Parker and Rampy have lost 3 GFs. 20 years since Port beat the Lions back in 2004. So there's a few different permutations that we can get, but obviously either Sydney or Port will be there. And then Saturday night, we have Geelong versus Brisbane. That's the team that won in 2022, taking on 2023's runner-up at the MCG. So in terms of finals possibilities, could have Sydney-Geelong, which was the GF in 2022. We could have Port and Geelong, which was the GF in 2004, as we just spoke about. We could have Brisbane and Port, which was a grand final in the early 2000s. The only one that we haven't had is Sydney versus Brisbane.
Yep.
So be interesting to see if the Lions can overcome the Geelong at the MCG.
Yeah,
always
tough ask.
Very tough indeed.
It's always Geelong. But yeah, if you want to win a flag, you got to go beat Geelong at some point. So,
did you see if the Lions are still going in the VFL?
They are still going in the VFL.
Yeah.
They have got the Cats in the prelims this week.
That's AFL. Pretty
Hang
sure.
on. I was in the VFL a second ago.
Yeah, that's definitely the AFL one there. Maybe they have
Hang on.
Geelong as well. Yeah, go across because I saw Sydney and Airport in that one as well. That's right, you'll find it.
yeah. Well, I'm thinking.
Do I?
I hope so.
I feel like Sydney's probably going to beat Port Adelaide. I think they're just too good and too far ahead of them. And especially at home, I think they're going to be too good for that.
We've got it. So Brisbane lost to Werribee. So I imagine that's why he's announced his retirement. Yeah. You can get a team list and see if he was in that one. Really, really hit this one home.
Yeah.
So I feel like Sydney's going to make their way to the grand final, and I want to say it's a coin toss in the other one, but I
don't think it is.
But Geelong are just Geelong, and in Melbourne, the MCG as well. They're just so difficult to beat. So yeah, maybe Brisbane pull off some upset and make it through to another grand final. But I think Sydney Geelong GF is what it's going to be.
Agreed. What do you think about Brisbane and premiership windows? We've spoken about it on the podcast before. Zorko getting a bit long in the tooth.
Yeah.
They're not that old,
Yeah, well, that's the outside of Zorko. He's probably the oldest because I think he's 35 or 34 going 35.
34 maybe.
So, yeah, he's probably the oldest of that kind of group. There's still late 20s, got some real young guys coming still through, like Ashcroft, etc. So, they'll have those young guys there. I think Lockie Neal also committing to them for a couple more years as well instead of going back west. Keeps that window open, essentially.
Agreed.
So I think they've re-signed everyone as well. I think I know Jared did, and I'm pretty sure McLuggage as well has re-signed. So they've got that core of young fellas for at least the foreseeable future. So yeah, if they can keep that going, and like Rayner's younger than them.
Rayner's younger. Kyle Lohman's been incredible. I think Keaton Coleman's young. I think they've got lots of guys on there that can keep the premiership window open. Charlie Cameron's getting a bit older.
But only early 30s for him.
Jasper Fletcher's young as anything.
Still young.
I think list-wise, it's not flag or bust for him.
So question for you, if they do lose, what are your thoughts on Chris Fagan? Because I've seen all the rhetoric about, hey, they need a new voice. They need someone to take over the team to push them over the edge and win a grand final. But then you look at what he's done with the club. He's rebuilt it, and they've made finals all the time, and he's won a lot of finals as well. I don't think he's doing a bad job.
Yeah, I think
I've seen a bit of the rhetoric going around back and forth about, hey, they need a new voice. But what is that voice? Who's that voice?
I think it's the voice of the pesky.
Is there a Wayne Bennett floating around out there that's just going to walk in and take them to a grand final? I don't think so.
I think it's just noise. I think Fags has done it, like you said, lifting him off the bottom of the table, 5-6 years ago, and making consecutive prelim finals, and then getting to the big dance last year and being a kick away from winning the big dance. And I think the playing group loves him by all accounts. So I'd be very, very surprised if they're looking for anyone other than Fags. Interesting as well. I probably didn't realise how short me and Chris Fagan is. Didn't pick the best place to stand in the team song last night.
Was he stand next to Oscar?
Yeah, between the two tallest blokes on the team, I think. He's only a small man.
There
There we go.
Too funny.
Makes him look 4 foot there.
He's not. Yeah, it's a bad photo, really. I think he's about 5'8", so it's just like sort of normal height. But in that photo, looked a little short.
Yeah, he needs to get some lifts.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sean. I'd be surprised if it's not Sydney versus Geelong. But stranger things have happened in the AFL, and we've had 2 rip snorters of semi-finals. So hopefully we just get good games, and the underdogs keep it close. Monks, did you have the odds there for next weekend? I imagine both Sydney and Geelong are reasonable favourites. Geelong maybe not as short as what you'd expect.
Yeah, so Geelong are favourites at $1.73. Brisbane are $2.12. And then, Sydney are pretty heavy favourites there against Port. 131 with Port being 346.
Maybe a little bit of value there if you like the Cats at $1.73. Sydney reasonably short there. They've got a 20-point line there as well.
Yes, yeah.
And the rumours have started up again, but they seem to maybe be a bit stronger than rumours this time around. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is Dusty going to the Suns?
Yeah, I'm not sure who reported it, whether the Suns actually said that they'd been in contact with his management, because his management had reached out to see if they would bring him up. I think that's kind of where it went along. You know, the connection with Dusty and Hardwick and going to the Suns has been there.
All season.
All season, last season.
Since Dimmer was announced.
Wherever Dimmer's going, Dusty's probably following. I think that's been around for a very long time. So it's no shock that the worst team in the league got off the Tigers and like, I'd rather retire than keep going. But if he work out a new contract, I think he was off contract with the Tigers anyway, didn't he? That contract ended, so I don't think there'll be any hoopla if he does come out of retirement, wants to sign with the Suns. But the question is, does he fit?
And how much do they pay him?
Yeah, exactly. How much do you pay him? And if he's going to be a role guy that maybe comes on, plays a couple of minutes, like you're going for that more veteran, adding an older statesman, a veteran to that younger squad, because they're a very young team. But what's he really giving you, considering he looked pretty cooked and washed outside a couple moments this year? Maybe, who knows? Maybe he's lost the passion for the game.
It's all speculation.
And Hardwick's, they will give him the G up and new location. And he'll be refreshed, get a good couple of years out of him, and. I think the Luke Hodge comparison is the one they always make. You bring in the veteran guy that helps repoint the club, gets them the experience that they need to make finals pushes.
Interesting analogy as well, because quite different players in the way. Obviously, different ends of the field, but the way.
But premiership winner going to a club that has been struggling with a veteran kind of presence was what you're trying to angle for. Because, the Suns really did lack consistency. That was very evident. You could only win at home. Well, I guess they were consistent in the fact that we're inconsistent. Could only win at home and really struggle.
Consistent in South East Queensland.
Yeah. But they couldn't win anywhere else and, didn't play the football they would expect themselves to be playing. So whether that's leadership and discipline, it seems like discipline, and whether Dusty's leadership could help correct that is the question. And I'm not so sure. But what they are confident is they've given Big Mac Andrew a massive contract. It's through to 2030 for 6 years. I can't remember the dollar value though, but I thought Big Mac was good, but maybe is this deal a little bit over? Because richest deal in the history.
$12 million deal as AFL legend reveals scary reality facing rivals is the headline of this one from Fox Sports.
Decade-long commitment.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's close to $2 million a year, I think.
Yeah, it'd have to be. I think Mac's good. Is he that good?
He showed points this year where you're like, my goodness, like intercept marking and just general strength. Given he's not even that bulky just yet either. I'm just trying to find here we go. Andrew will earn more than $1 million per annum in 5 years after next season. So I don't know how that makes $12 million. My maths is no good.
Of the original, yeah.
Scroll back up to the top.
So that's the first half of the deal. It gets through to 2030.
6-year
Officially a 6-year contract.
Trigger clauses that could extend to a decade.
Okay.
So he's got 6 years. He's got 4 more years, and I guess if you do well in those 6 years, it triggers the other 4 with a big money value.
And backloaded.
Backloaded. Yeah. Okay. That's just reading that. I think that's a better deal for a younger guy. Like they're getting him probably on market value now, and then he could potentially, with good play, can escalate that higher. But also having said that, if he's locked himself in for 10 years, the way salary caps are going at the moment, the Suns are probably thinking that's still good value for us.
Exactly.
So it might sound like a lot, but those long-term deals usually end up being in the favour of the
We've
team.
seen it with a lot of the players.
Yeah. Especially in I guess in
the league. Well, Tamalolo comes to mind in the NRL. Buddy is the big example in the AFL. And oftentimes when it's announced, you're like, that's obscene kind of money. And then years and years pass, and then you kind of look at it like either the club won or it was you call it a push.
Yeah. But I guess the interesting thing is, you talk about the AFL and concussions and things like that for Mark Andrews. He goes out and takes a massive concussion to a hit next week and then can't play again. He'll get the payout of his deal essentially. So he is also security for himself. So I can see that there's a bit of to and forth that you can't really say anyone really won the deal. I think they're both happy with what's resulted.
And we'll get to that in a second in the NFL. We're talking about Tua Tagovailoa. Because they are talking about obscene sort of money. $10 million is nothing to sneeze at. But
if you got $200 million?
It's not a quarter of a billion like it is in the AFL, in the NFL on some of their contracts.
Yeah.
One day maybe.
Possibly. The way that inflation's going at the moment.
Might be able to get one of our shadow beers then.
We have signed Mac Andrew for $1 billion.
Yeah, it's in Bahamian dollars.
That's it for AFL, I think. Anything else to add?
Yeah.
No? We've got some prelims next weekend, and next pod will be GF time.
Getting very close.
That's it.
All right, let's switch codes and talk some rugby league. Panthers and Storm both won pretty comfortably in the qualifying finals. Panthers 30, Roosters 10. Blue bet on Friday night. Cleary good to go. Didn't look like he'd missed much footy really the way that he was playing.
Yeah, it's a kicking game.
Yeah, that's 10 finals games in a row for Penrith. The last time they lost a final was the 2020 GF. 24-0, I think it was, at one stage. I saw a lot of Chooks fans blowing up about refereeing in this one.
I don't think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, back to my previous point. I don't think it mattered in this one.
100%. Panthers will go through to their 5th consecutive
I think that's more like Robinson putting Mayo on it as well. This is like, it was all the rest fault why we lost this game. Don't look at the fact that, yes, we're probably heavily injured, and it's not my fault. I think it's the way I read that. It's not my fault. I want to be back here next
press
year.
conference and blame injuries and bad luck.
Yeah.
You've seen the Chooks, I think we might have spoken about it a few weeks ago, NRL physio highlighting, I love his work, just how unlucky they have been with the amount of ACLs that they've had.
Yeah, going into finals as well. So it's usually like the last couple of rounds of the rugby league season is when they get their ACLs, and then, really. Yeah,
horrific timing. I think we saw that in that Raiders game, when you lose your 7 and a 9, for the season. Yeah. In the same game, it's hard to recover from. Having said that, the Panthers pack just bashed the Chooks, and they were all over them in the middle. And then when you've got Luai and Cleary to do the attacking work inside the 20, it was pretty one-way traffic, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, I think for Penrith, if they wanted to win the comp, I think they needed Cleary back just to get past Melbourne. I think that's the big difference for them. I think they're very similar sort of clubs, and they're going about, and they'll be very good contests. But having someone like Cleary on your side is what maybe puts you over the edge over a well-coached Melbourne Storm. Speaking of which, they hammered the Sharks.
37-10. Sharkies 0-4 in finals under Craig Fitzgibbon.
I think
they'll really be hoping that's not 0-5 next week.
Yeah, I think they're like 1-10 since they won the GF as well in finals as well.
Really?
Like, they're the Dave Grohls of the NRL. They only beat the bad teams and can't beat anyone good. So
I was going to say, they have children outside of wedlock.
Maybe. I think Hines is good looking, but we won't put out that. Allegedly.
Got another confession to make. Foo Fighters.
Yes.
A bit upset with that news as a bit of a Fooey's fan during the week. But anyways, reading into that's got nothing to do with sport. Harry Grant had a hattie in this one. Storm just way too good. I don't think there's much more to say.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we'll talk about the other guys that then have to play off to then get to them. But I can't see anyone else but those two.
I don't. Stranger things have happened.
Definitely.
But this has been the conversation over the last 3 months.
The team gets wiped out. But outside of that, I don't think anyone's beating them.
That has happened in the past as well. So let's hope nothing like that happens. It's going to be pretty surprising if anyone outside of those two teams are playing in the GF, I think. Yeah. Now, we've got some teams that would like to think that they can play grand final. Let's talk about them. Cowboys.
Got a sniff?
Yeah, beat the Knights 28-16 up there. Queensland Country Bank. Kyle Felt opened the account with a long intercept try. He's off to England next year, I believe. And the Knights started pretty strong. They're actually up 12-4 at half-time. Game was in the balance. 11 minutes to go. Ponga makes a break. Granted, the pass was a little low. Gagai spills it, bomb the try. Yeah. Next set, Cowboys up the other end, and Ruben Cotter scores pretty lucky try, really. Sort of hit his knee and went into the in goal.
The old Billy Slater.
Yeah, it's exactly what it reminded me of. Got some pretty traumatic memories of Billy Slater putting the ball on his putting the ball on his knee. He fucking dropped the ball onto his knee is what he did, but anyway.
Potential kicking motion, bro.
Yeah. Cowboys end up winning this one. Leo Thompson did go to the bin late. A pretty bad high shot there and didn't silk the game. And the Cowboys are through. And then today, good scenes there at Accor Stadium, 50,000 in. It was the biggest crowd, I think, for a match between these two teams. Doggies there for the first time in 8 years, and all the talk from Manly leading into this game was the state of Tommy Turbo's shoulder. Certainly didn't quite look his electric best, but they did get through. But then the big story outside of that, leading into the week or into the game, was Josh Adokar having a roadside drug test, which initially came back negative for cocaine. Fever. And then this week, a secondary test confirmed positive. What do we know about this, boys, and what was our thoughts?
It was the initial roadside test was positive, and the secondary came back positive as well. I think what caused the
confusion?
Yeah, I guess Adokar has been adamant the whole time that he hasn't.
Yeah, I did nothing.
He hasn't knowingly taken anything.
Yes.
So he hasn't taken anything on purpose. He did his own test on the Monday after the Friday night first test, and that came back negative. I think that's where
24 hours later, the cocaine is gone.
Yeah, it was like almost 36 hours, 48 hours later, even longer. I can't do maths. I think that's what's led him to tell the club and Gus Gould that he has tested false for it. Negative. There's he doesn't know what's going on. Obviously, as you mentioned on Friday this week, the secondary test came back positive. Yeah. By all accounts, his managers come out and said that he's paid the fine, so legally it's just done and dusted.
But then what's the club want to do? What's
the NRL integrity unit's going to do? Investigate into it. Himself stood himself down for the finals, and then also didn't go to the game, saying that he didn't want to be a distraction to the team. So there's a lot of these sort of things going on, I suppose. Makes it really hard to sort of gauge what's been happening.
Yeah, I saw a report that that the first test they gave him was inconclusive. They were going to test him again.
There you go, called away somewhere.
To because it was like, it was kind of positive, but it wasn't positive. So they wanted to test him again at the site, but they also did the is it a swab? I can't remember.
I think it's an oral swab.
Oral swab, which is the one they sent away, but they were going to do the second at the roadside, but then got the priority calls, and then they left, so they didn't. So which I think is where Josh thought, there's much to do about nothing. Like there's nothing here. Like it was a false positive essentially, and we'll sort it out in a couple of days, and I'll have my negative test. But yeah, they've sent away that swab, and that's come back positive. So pretty much something was probably in his system. So there's probably no hiding from that, unfortunately. And I think that all kind of got confusion with the club, and Gus put out a statement saying, it's nothing, and then he's had to backtrack on that and has got actually it was, and that's why he stood himself down. And
I think that's where the problem seems to be more so than with the police, in that Gus was adamant that nothing had happened, and it seems like he's taken the fox on his word there. Whereas it seems as though, there was something in his system. So
but I can see Fox's point as well. Like the coppers have probably just rushed off and left him and said, "Hey mate, we'll get back to this," and they've gone off to their thing. So he probably doesn't know what's going on. Like, what's the next steps, kind of thing.
Sure.
Maybe I've got away with this one, but they've lost that and the confusion. But I don't know. Gus in the past has made some pretty strong statements about their position and what the Bulldogs would do in similar circumstances. I can't remember if he was referring to with recent Latrell stuff or not. But basically the Bulldogs wouldn't have a stance for that, and that player would be Gonski's. So whether that ends up being one of your star names at the club, one of your senior veterans or not, will be an interesting, I guess, week to see what happens. But I guess now that they've been eliminated, they can.
There's no finals repercussions or anything.
Exactly. So they could kind of make a decision. But I guess it was a bit of a headache leading into this as well.
They
might have liked to have Alikar out there in a 2-point game where they could have used his services. So,
could he have been the difference?
Exactly.
And like you said, like he pulled himself out not to be the distraction, but you don't know what's happened during the week. Probably one thing here that I'll read the police statement that's a bit concerning for me is, so about 10:45 p.m. on Friday, 6th of September 2024, officers attached to the Auburn Police Area Command were patrolling Baywater Drive, Wentworth Point, when they stopped.
It was post-training as well, I think, Like they'd finished training on Friday night and he was heading home, essentially.
10:45 p.m. on a Friday night. I don't know where he was before then, but so when they stopped a Toyota hatchback for random testing, how much are the dogs paying at a car that he's driving around a Toyota hatchback?
I wondered where you're going. I'm like, this is about a Toyota hatchback.
It could also be a Toyota Supra, like the new Toyota Supra, and the coppers just call that a hatchback.
True.
Well, let's assume he was in a Yaris or something like that, getting around.
The fastest man in league, only on the field.
You can run faster than a Corolla.
Unfortunate for the Dogs, and unfortunate that took a lot of the rugby league headlines in what should have been a really positive story for the Bulldogs, because we've spoken
especially
about,
with Latrell, the week or two before.
Exactly, but just where the club's been and getting a spoon and finishing, in the bottom 4 for a number of years and not playing in the finals since 2016. And I sent you boys what their finals team looked like the last time they were in the finals, and there was Morris brothers and James Graham and guys that have been removed from the game for quite some time, and it takes away from a lot of that, as it always does in the sort of shit show that is the rugby league media. And they played really well for the first 60 minutes in this game today as well.
Had a good lead.
Yep.
Should have been able to bring it home, but I
think it's the kicking game of DCE, man. It just means like that they can be down and he can just control things and conserve their energy and make the Bulldogs work, because they look gassed for that last 20 minutes, and then momentum's a hell of a thing in rugby league. And
I think the playmaking ability of DC, like he scored that try that kind of like took them over the edge.
He scored that one to get
deal,
well, it was the second last one that he scored, wasn't it? And then it was them running the ball on the fifth tackle from their own 40 and scoring one of the better team tries that you'll see. getting around, and then the pace of Kohler to finish it off, which would have had Manly fans up and about. But it's the whole Fox stuff leading into the week that was a kind of a disappointing distraction, I suppose, for Dogs fans. But
I agree.
For Doggies fans as well, and we've spoken about it, the last few years when we've looked at the teams, and on paper we think the last 2 years in particular, like, fuck, they've signed well here. Like, they'd have to be a better team. Didn't happen last year, and then obviously the influence of Critter, I think, this year has been the turning point. Kickout looks like he's playing his best footy ever, maybe. And Reid Marnie, as much of a pest as he is, he's a pretty good nine. So the next year's bright for the Dogs. You'd think, geez, Manly. We speak.
Are they the kind of club that's like a 7 away? Because they've got everything else. They just need that.
Possibly. We always talk about Ben Hunt. We always talk about the spine. Well, we're going to get to Ben Hunt in just a second. In fact, that's a great segue into it. I don't think Toby Sexton's been that bad. I think at the start of the year, if you asked me, can you win a comp with Toby Sexton, I would have laughed. And maybe still that's a bit of an egregious thing to say, but
I think they're the kind of club that it does feel like that maybe they need, that veteran halfback to come in. Like, they need someone that's of DCE, Adam Reynolds. They're the guys I think of as a comparison.
But the problem is someone that's not that many.
Well, exactly. So when we talk about guys maybe potentially coming available, that leads us into that Ben Hunt conversation.
And that's a perfect little segue here into Ben Hunt, who was told, apparently, that
scathing.
His last 4 games weren't up to club standards.
Got hammered in the post-season review, supposedly.
This is for the man who had the most try assists in the league this year, and for anyone that's watched every Dragons game over the last few years,
glue holding that squad together.
May God have mercy on your soul. But I've also suggested.
How'd you feel watching that Raiders game, by the way?
I was there.
I know you were there.
I said, if there's a draw tomorrow, I'm going to go jump off a bridge. Facetiously.
Yeah.
I was having a laugh with Sarah, and I was just saying, thank God that wasn't for the final, because we had bought those tickets thinking this is essentially going to be a finals game. And let's take our. Luckily, our girls aren't going to be old enough to,
they probably understood some of Dad's swear words after Big Red went through and scored that draw.
I kept it mostly together. I was just like, it is what it is. You had the feeling of the momentum.
Yeah, you could
just shifting,
feeling it coming.
And after being up 24-6 in that game, just rolling over, but it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, had it been, we'd beaten Parramatta the week before, I would have been absolutely livid.
Yeah.
But I don't think Hunt is the person to blame for this, sort of capitulation at the end of the year. And I think there's many moving parts. And for anyone to think that he's St George's problem, I think they've got Roxford brains, if that's what you think.
I wonder if part of it's, Shano's kind of angle of like, let's attack the top dog at the club, essentially, and say, like, everyone's on notice.
Yeah, and how much of it is just media beat up?
True.
They probably had a meeting and, spoken about his future and whatnot.
Well, obviously someone wasn't happy because the media found out about it.
Yeah.
And then I think all those conversations about going back to Queensland popped straight back up. And
of course they did.
Titans, you're open. You need a halfback. Dolphins, do you need a halfback? Well, I'm happily could move.
He's also contracted next year and has also been told
for now
he's not allowed to explore options. So the more that we do this podcast, the more that I take what I read in the media with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Well, there was some talk about like he won't play there next year. That was like they'll release him for his contract. They'll let him move on.
No, I don't think
so. But I don't think they can do that without having someone like a ready-made replacement, someone to move in.
Yeah, which they don't have.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't think they'd be willing to move Ben Hunt at this point in time.
Not at all. And I'm actually excited about their 2025 season, which is the first time I think I can say that in a long time. Cookie and Val Holmes, they're good signings. Obviously, Lomax and Jack Bird, amongst a few others, are out the door. But, you lose a form winger and goal kicker in Zach Lomax, and you bring in a guy that kicks goals and is a good centre in Val Holmes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Damien Cook is still pretty fucking good as well. I feel a little bit for Jacob Little in all of this, who has actually been reasonable playing with the 9 on his back, but maybe it'll just be a 9 and 14 sort of 1-2 punch.
Maybe second row, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm excited for their season next year. I thought we were going to play finals football a month ago, which, you take your licks and weren't there. And watching the Cowboys last night, I don't think they were going to give them many dramas in Townsville either. So,
so gentlemen's 11th, I think.
Gentlemen's 11th, yeah. Gentlemen's 11th it was. And at the start of the year, we were just thinking not bottom four would be a good result.
Yeah, not the spoon.
Not the spoon.
I had them for the spoon.
You had them for the spoon.
I have them for the spoon every year just for you guys.
And how many spoons have we got? Is 0, baby.
Well, maybe I shouldn't, and then they'll get the spoon.
Yeah, the reverse jinx.
Maybe.
Yes.
That's also a good segue into the spoon. Tigers. At what point do you just get embarrassed for another club? I actually really wanted the Tigers to beat Parramatta here, not because I particularly hate Parramatta, but just because I feel sorry for the West Tigers at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, and
Gotta
agree.
catch
And
a break at some point.
there's been all that talk about, I think it's at Belmore, it's just like, it's not working, we got to leave. We'll split them back up. West's, the merger isn't working anymore, we want to be our own club again. Because they're sick of the losing, essentially. So, a bit of board hoopla, etc. But they've got reinforcements coming. We know that.
If they split that club up, they could send them both to New South Wales Cup.
Exactly. And then bring in someone else.
Yeah.
So that might be a good idea.
Like, if that's what happens. I did read that story and I was like, what in the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that to me sounds like the Tigers in a nutshell. They're just obviously their board got no clue. So hopefully though, the on-field product, they've got some guys coming next year, and they can hopefully turn the corner a bit and get into maybe a gentleman's 11th instead of going for 4 spoons.
I'll take a gentleman's 16th, I think.
Yeah, so anything but last. And I think Benji would be hoping for more. They had their moments, and there were some games where they lost closely. Like they weren't getting pumped by 50 points like they were in previous years. So.
Remember they belted Cronulla.
Yeah.
And they smacked the Raiders one game. Like they showed glimpses.
Yeah.
But and just back end of the season as well.
Yeah, it is.
Didn't help that Para got their act together towards the end of the year and can score some points as well. Yeah. Where obviously that's been the Tigers' problem has been scoring points. I feel for their fans. I kind of feel for Benji. I think it's a hard role to inherit.
Yeah, and they already a couple of weeks ago they were already talking about sacking him because they were looking towards getting the spoon. He was like, you just keep sacking guys.
Just tricky.
They're not legend.
Yeah. You remember back in 2005 when you won the whole thing? Yeah. You remember who was a big part of that? Maybe just give him a few years.
I think that's close to one of the worst run clubs. Actually, it is the worst run club in NRL by far.
Well, the Dragons
are very close second, yeah.
So, and the merger clubs, I guess there's just too many voices probably in those rooms. We'll have to see if Richardson can get them pointing in the right direction.
That'll do us for rugby league. Actually, whilst we just talk some rugby briefly, can you get the odds up for the finals for next week? Oh, you already had him. Look at him. See, you're fast sometimes, aren't you?
Sometimes.
What are the odds for next week, mate?
Yep. So Sharks Cowboys. Sharks are favourites at $1.62. North Queensland, is at $2.30. And then same again. Roosters favourites at $1.62, and Seagulls are the underdogs there at $2.30.
I don't mind some of. There's a bit of juice in these games, I reckon.
It is, yeah. That Cowboys one.
I can see Manly upsetting the Roosters.
These games will be competitive.
Yeah.
It's next week.
Who wants to go lose to Penrith and Melbourne?
That's
pretty
it.
much.
I mean the line says it as well. It's the overs unders 3.5. It's going to be very, very close there.
What time's kickoff? 7:50 both nights.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, so it's all AFL, NRL. They're going head to head now. I think with their games. Yep. Finals footy, baby. Let's go. Speaking of disappointing, jeez, I watched the highlights of this game.
I saw the scoreline. I was like, I don't want to see any of this.
Dude, did you?
Because it was in Argentina, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so they beat him in Argentina 2 weekends ago. Last weekend.
And then what changed?
The weather. Literally, it was pissing down rain. They won like a gritty, low-scoring game last weekend, and then or 2 weekends ago, and then last weekend, the sun was shining. It was a fast track, and can you bring up the score there? Check what it was at halftime. This was just floodgates in the second half kind of shit. Yeah, and I think they scored. It was like 4 tries in the last 10 minutes or something. Just absolutely ran the Wallabies over. It's the second worst loss in Wallabies history. And the 40-point, I was surprised with this, the 40-point margin, the All Blacks have never beaten Australia by that much. Wow. So it's a second only to a South African loss from a few years ago. But yeah, Monks, when you do decide to...
I always find it so hard to find stats, a website for rugby.
Yeah, interesting, hey? You know, all these private school boys and all this education and the media is terrible. Yeah. Anything around rugby, it's hard to find.
It's probably because all their money's going in their pockets.
I don't know where it goes. It's certainly not going into media. Although I think I can do a quicker job. Should we go head first?
Who cares? It's fucking rugby.
Well, a lot of people care. The international game's obviously growing in a lot of places.
True.
And I'm quite nervous for the Wallabies with the Bledisloe, which starts next weekend. There we go. I think we're here.
Is this it?
Yeah, 67-27. That's it.
Yep.
Do we have a halftime score on that?
Please.
No,
do some quick math.
Let me tell you when the tries were scored. So 30th minute and 36th minute, Argentina only scored 2 tries in the first half, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tries in the second half. And there was 4 in the last 10 minutes. So scoreline maybe didn't reflect the game perfectly. I don't know.
Yeah,
the Aussies got behind and we're already on the bus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, half time the points, it doesn't look like it was that bad, and then it just opened up for Argentina in the second.
Yeah, Los Pumas.
Half.
Los Pumas. Kudos to Argentinian rugby. It's come a long way from where it was. It's done the opposite of what rugby in this country has done.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't have Craig Gale playing for Argentina anymore. Actually, no, it was Italy.
Italy. Good try. That's about it for rugby. Well, hopefully they go okay in the Bledisloe. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk some NFL.
He broke his ankles.
Week 1 in the books, boys. There was some good games, but a little bit unusual given the trend in the NFL over the last 5 or so years, which we've seen the rules sort of shift to favour the offense.
Very offensive.
But this year and last year, week 1 has been dominated by the defences. Shauna, you've got the stat there. Run us through it.
Yeah, well, tracking passing touchdowns. 2019, 61. 2020 was 52, 21 was 61, 22 was 51, and then last 2 years, as you mentioned, 23 was 37, and this year was only 35 passing touchdowns.
So that's passing touchdowns in week 1.
In week 1, yeah, as a comparison. And I guess it kind of shows that the defenses have been dominating early, and they're obviously being better. Whether that goes into maybe the preseason also being shorter in those 2 years, and a lot of those teams now don't play any starters in preseason too, so
week 1 is like a preseason game.
Exactly, yeah. Where the week 1, week 1, 2, and 3 potentially, like the first month of football was very much in the defense's favour because a lot of teams struggle to throw for 200 passing yards as well.
Yeah,
that was a very hard stat to break. I think Tua was the only person to throw for over 300 as well.
Which is wild.
Yeah, which is very wild considering the names. But yeah, I guess it kind of shows that early in the season, it's a slow start, the slow burn, while teams start to figure out what they are and what they can be and go forward. Defense gets their hand up to start with.
Even points-wise, I think there's only 4 or 5 teams that scored 30 points.
Yeah, the Saints game.
Eagles, Saints, Bills, Bucks, Cowboys, 49. There's 6 teams that scored 30 points.
Yeah.
It's kind of good for defenses and good for, I think, the NFL as a product, maybe. I know everyone loves points.
Well, it's very competitive.
It's more competitive.
Well.
And
games.
The rules that we've seen favour the offense over the last few years, maybe there's defenses starting to adjust a little bit and working out some of these high-powered offenses and, bring a bit more parity to both sides of the ball.
And it really, I think the only real big blowout was that Saints game against the Panthers. And I think Panthers were at home and they barely had like 1,000 people show up for that game.
1,000?
Yeah. They have like no one in the stands. They're really struggling for people to get out. Remember they were charging like 50 cents for tickets?
Yeah.
So, the club's in a bad space.
Could we see relocation?
Ooh, I think could we see a new owner?
Okay.
Is more likely at the moment. So, yeah, they're a club that's struggling. But, they got a young quarterback that needs to grow, essentially. So, we'll have to see how that goes.
Can't find an actual crowd number.
Probably put a bit of mayo on that. But,
Yeah, sure.
but it was not a lot.
Yeah. That's fair in confidence. Anyways, do your own research, etc. Not good scenes there in Carolina. We did have in our group chat a meme that got sent through about the NFL Germany game, which is Giants versus Panthers.
Yeah.
What did Germany do to deserve this? Kind of funny. I don't know. I don't know what they're alluding to there. Giants notoriously bad last week as well.
Yes.
Danny Dimes, he got paid in the off-season. Last off-season.
But they're paying him big dollars to do nothing. So.
You get beaten by
fans are letting him know about it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, who would want to be a sports person in New York? If you're good, I suppose it'd be good.
Yeah, I kind of thought probably after the first month that Locke might actually steal that spot, but he got hurt in the preseason.
Okay.
So they put him probably behind the 8 ball. But, I could see him stealing Danny Dimes' job. But that injury is also why they kept Tommy, what's his last name? DeVito? Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, maybe we'll see Tommy DeVito.
It's the same thing.
Who knows?
If they're struggling, they might pull him and whack in Tommy. But, they're not good for Giants football.
I tipped the Giants week 1. I thought Vikings with Sam Darnold at the helm, travelling to New Jersey. Nope, no bueno, not even close. All right, let's wrap up the highlights. We're not going to go through game by game; takes a bit too long. But I've written some highlights here. Opening night, Chiefs beat the Ravens literally by a toe. Yeah. It was Isaiah Likely, wasn't it, whose toe hit the white paint at the back of the end zone. Massive. Mark Andrews, fantasy owners. I've got him in one league. I was thinking, oh boy, what's going on here? Andrews is coming off the syndesmosis ankle fracture.
Yeah, and the Chiefs doubled him exclusively as well. Yeah. So, their plan was to take him out of the game.
Yeah, and they did.
They did. So, likely benefited from that.
Tell you what, Rashee Rice is looking pretty good, and Xavier Worthy is fast as fuck. They're going to be dangerous, as they always are.
Yeah, got behind us by quarterback,
but bringing in Worthy gives them that option, and
kind of made Kels a bit of a role player.
Didn't really need him.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't really need him, and got the win without looking super dominant. The Brazil game was a bit of fun. First time ever that the NFL's been down to Brazil in a rare Friday night game, which makes for good viewing
for us
over here. That's for sure. Jordan Love, we'll cover him in just a second. Was the big story out of that one?
There's been some talks actually about extending and doing Friday nights on a more regular basis, and then they'll just have football all the time. So.
Yeah, fuck yeah. For me, it makes sense.
Yeah,
because college football, the big day over there is Saturday.
High school was Friday
nights. Sure.
Yeah, but it's high school.
That's right. And if it's up to me to watch my 18-year-old son play or watch fucking NFL football, I don't have sons that are 18 and are that good at sport. But.
Yeah, poor son. I'm watching.
But yeah, that's the reason why, if anyone's wondering, down under, they're very structured over there. Thursday night.
Yeah, especially with the same code essentially. Yeah. It's just the different tiers of the leagues.
Exactly.
Yeah, but now college football's played almost every day at the moment.
Not much on Sundays.
Yeah, not much on Sundays, but every other day. So they're kind of overlapping anyway. And I think people are just they love the football anyway, so it's not oversaturation of content.
No,
so.
I think Friday night makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yes, it is high school football night in America. Yes, you're going to have you'll miss out on a lot of that market and a lot of mums and dads that do go to Friday night games there. And it wouldn't have to be every weekend either, but I think just slipping a little bit in a prime time game on a Friday night wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all.
Into Sunday of week 1, got a few highlights. The Bills come back against the Cards. It was pretty fun. Josh Allen landed hard on that left hand and was obviously okay for Thursday night. Tyreek.
Yeah, getting arrested.
Jeez, what was our thoughts there? The body cam footage come out. For those that don't know, Tyreek Hill arrested on the way to Hard Rock Stadium pre-game. Mike McDaniel pretty upset in the post-game interview.
I think it was excessive, and
It was excessive, didn't it?
Yeah, and
He shouldn't have wound his window up. But
I think a lack of respect across the board, across the board from both sides, and it escalated, and they just took it too far. And they shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
No.
And then I think Campbell kind of showing up to kind of like, hey, we're not really doing anything wrong, and then also just getting arrested for the sake of just being intervening. I think it's a bit over the top. But to me, it kind of seems like, he's a massive fucking human being. I might just arrest him to make sure that nothing escalates here. But again, excessive. I think it went too far than it needed to be.
How about the cop that pulled him over, didn't know who he was?
But it happens.
I suppose.
Some guy in like a supercar driving down towards the stadium.
It is Miami though, so
yeah, I guess.
But also, you recognise Tyreek as a dude in number 10, like in full gear. That's what you see week in, week out. He's not Peyton Manning or Tom Brady doing. Or Mahomes, essentially, where they do media ad after ad. They're in your face. You know who they are. Outside of their gear,
if he's a cop working game day, he's probably never seen a game before. Doesn't know who Tyreek is.
Yeah,
maybe. I love working on Sundays. No one else ever wants to work.
Yeah. The big way to work out how far a spread, like an NFL player's spread is what they wear in advertisement. For like Peyton Manning and that, he's in khakis. Like everyone knows who he is. If you watch CMC do an ad, he's wearing 23. It's just because it's more the connection with the jersey, and then you make that connection because you don't see the face behind the helmet essentially. So yes, he's probably doesn't know who he is from that. He probably learned a very valuable
pretty
lesson.
quick, I reckon.
But I'd assume trying to treat him as any other civilian, like as a normal civilian in there. And again, I think the respect back and forth just wasn't there, and it escalated way too far.
Way too much, yeah.
So.
Baker at your Bucks, they won pretty well. He looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Fucking Browns.
Can't complain about that.
Well, Sean Watson looked like dog ass.
Doo-doo. They were playing Dallas, who have a very good defense. But and he's got another lawsuit coming his way as well. So.
Yep.
They took his soul on the massage bench. I saw that meme, John.
And the 49ers look pretty good on Monday Night Football as well. Outside of the whole CMC not playing debacle. Thursday Night Football, Bills 31 beat Dolphins 10. James Cook looked like him with 2 rushing touchdowns.
I'm glad they shut him down in the second half.
Touchdown. Yeah. Could have gotten really ugly, but the big talking point out of this was the concussion to Tua Tagovailoa, ironically hit by DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah. Not something a year ago you'd be saying that. Hamlin ending Tua's career kind of chat.
I don't know if
it's
speculative.
I'm going with the headline essentially, not what potentially will happen. But the visual's not great. I think the hand motion you've got it mentioned there, the fencing, the clenching and the putting the hand up. Well, I will say this, Tua running. I've seen quarterbacks take that hit and they're okay. You don't want to be taking those hits. But every time Tua kind of seems to get in that situation, it's concussion. And there was potential to slide there. I said it to you guys maybe he thought the window was there. He's 7-8 yards out at that point. He's behind. I'm going to score a touchdown here. I'm going to, that's what you do in the NFL. Josh Allen's probably trying to score a touchdown at that point there. So
Josh Allen's starting to jump into the end zone.
Exactly. So you can see where he's thinking of, but you're also break your Tua. It's just take the slide, live to fight another day.
And it also, we're talking about split-second decisions.
It's there. He opens up then the safety's closed down on it, and he's like, fuck. And he's kind of diving forward, but it's maybe he didn't know where the first down marker was. He's diving forward to get that last couple of yards, but For me, I kind of think like he closed down too quick on him, and he probably didn't need to dive. And Hamlin's done nothing wrong there.
Absolutely, no, nothing.
Like there's not much.
No,
it's
more
just
different.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just Tua's just has those issues, and whether he needs to be wearing the Guardian cap or
I don't know if that would help him here.
It's
exactly.
The
like
neck crank
It's
he
the
gets
neck,
on that.
yeah. His neck gets exposed to what's called an axial load, which is going straight down his spine with rotation of the neck as well. And like you said, just immediate fencing response. That's what we call over here a Category 1 concussion. And he was able to walk off by himself, which is a great sign. And we do know that the severity of the visuals don't align with the severity of the post-concussive symptoms. But there's just been so much speculation over the last sort of 72 hours as to he needs to retire, and my feeling is it's just way too early to make any call like that. The bloke obviously needs to not play football for the next 2 weeks, and see what his symptoms are like, and then talk to the neurologists and medical teams and make a decision from there. And everyone just wants to, I was seeing people say, like you said, his career's ended 5 minutes after the play, and you're just like, that's not how concussion works. No. Obviously, it's not something that you want to treat lightly. Yeah. And given his concussion history.
Yeah, well, I guess the history and that, and then the potential further risk you put yourself at, because we think 3 in 20. Last year was good. He was good last year. 3 in 2022, which is kind of that started that conversation about Tua. And I think last year he played really well in the way that he protected himself.
Yep.
And the Bills kind of being their bogey team, they lost to them twice last year. Again, is he pushing himself too much in this situation? He went a bit too far, and maybe should have taken a yard shorter and slid. But those 3, I think, won the year before, but it's pretty hard to confirm.
And definitely won at Alabama.
Yeah, so
because he dislocated his hip and broke his nose and got concussed in the same play.
Yeah,
which is fucking nuts. Like that's a rare injury to see.
And that's why he slid as well in the draft night as well. That's why he went 12.
Fifth overall, I think.
No, because Herbert went before him. I think it was teens.
No, he went 5th, dude.
No, I think he went after Herbert because Chargers picked Herbert first.
No,
and then he went to Dolphins.
So Burrow was the first quarterback taken, and then he was the second quarterback taken at pick 5. I'm nearly 100% sure of that. Herbert was taken after him at pick 6.
Round 1, pick 5.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know what else is good in this one? Jalen Reagor going before Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, true.
Always 2020 vision in looking at drafts.
And Herbert 6. Okay, straight after. Yeah.
Who's the next quarterback taken? This is always a fun game to play.
What's your guesses?
I've got no idea. I don't think there's one in the first round.
What year was it?
There you go. Jordan Love. I should have known.
You should know.
I should have known.
26th overall. So very late in the first round.
So are we talking 5 in total or 6?
For his career? Documented, I think it's 6 probably.
6, yeah.
Plus however many micro traumas that they experience.
Exactly. And each person's individual. We've seen NRL dudes double digits.
Yeah.
Troy Aikman, I think, said he had like 20 or 30 concussions in his career, but playing football in the
80s. Someone said seeing stars is a concussion, and he said, in that case, I've had like 50.
Yeah.
So they're all different.
Yeah. It is
too early to tell.
Exactly. It's too early to tell. It is worrying, but we'll have to see how they treat him and how they go forward.
Yeah. I do think that all his career's over chat is a bit hyperbolic, but there's certainly some caution that needs to be taken for the Dolphins and him proceeding. Tell you what, they look dreadful with Skylar Thompson at the helm.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a pretty interesting week for backup quarterbacks as well. With Jordan Love also get injured.
Let's roll into that. I think so. We've got the early window games. Packers fan here. They're at home against the Colts. Jordan Love getting injured in like the third last play.
But did they say what it was? An MCL?
MCL confirmed. There's a lot of concern for patella dislocation or ACL.
With the knee pop in the slow-mo.
Yeah, exactly. In the slow-mo, it looked like something flicked across. That could have been his knee pad.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been anything under there.
Yeah, and then there was concern for ACL. Scans come back. It's an MCL, and there's they didn't put him in IR either. So there is a lot of conjecture that he'll only miss 2, maybe 3 games.
Yeah, I think 3 is the hope, and 6 is the back end of that.
Yeah.
But either way, I don't think they really want to put their star quarterback on IR anyway. As soon as he's going to be available, they'll put him back out there. Because if they're going to roll out Malik Willis, I was like, holy shit, are they going back to Dimeback or something in this offense? Like, Willis kind of really struggled over at Tennessee playing quarterback. So
I think the fantasy stock of those star-studded receivers. We saw Jaden Reed.
Colts defense. Pew.
Yeah, and
through the roof.
And the running back's probably going to get a whole lot of football, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
So
Was it Wilson the backup? Because Lloyd is still injured and Dylan's on IR.
yeah, it is Wilson. His first name is evading me at the moment.
But it was interesting that he got a few more looks than I thought he would. I thought Jacobs would hold.
He ripped a few big runs as well.
Yeah, so they'll probably be expecting. Most teams are going 50-50 on a committee, so they'd like that kind of style. Whether he can fill in a bit of a role there.
I think they'll pound the rock.
I think they're going to have to.
Yeah, at Lambeau tomorrow.
I'm thinking like 15 passes total and probably 40 runs. Maybe some RPO.
That's a good chance for Malik Willis to show himself as well. Also, there was some speculation, would they go out and try and sign a free agent?
Well, there's Ryan Tannehill, I think. Go back to Tua, being from Miami. Yeah, Tannehill's a veteran name that's out there still available, potentially that could come back. Whether you can get Tom Brady out of the booth. I think he's well retired.
I think he's making pretty good money to go talk in the booth.
Yeah.
Let's look at a few of the other games for tomorrow. Cowboys host the Saints. Dak just got paid. Highest paid player in the league, $240 million extension. We spoke about CMC. Won't be playing tomorrow. They're at the Vikings. Smash Jordan Mason if you own him in fantasy. Lions and Bucks, I think, is a fun matchup in the early window. Browns will be looking to bounce back.
Yeah, need to bounce back against
the Jags. Seahawks likely to go 2-0 with a game at the Patriots.
Patriots D played pretty well, though. Had to play pretty well against
the
Bengals, and Bengals maybe in all sorts a little bit early. You know, they've got all that conjecture with Chase and whether they actually going to do a deal or not. He said, I'm not negotiating anymore this season. Still have Higgins hurt and not on a deal. So, yeah, they're kind of a team that I think that's, again, struggling for consistency and has no mojo at the moment. So, in
a tough division as well.
Yeah, very tough division. Didn't the Steelers the only team that won in that division, week 1?
Yeah, Ravens lost, Browns lost. Yeah.
Yep.
Late window. Rams at Cardinals. Puka Nakua goes on to IR. PCL.
Cooper Kupp is back. He got 21 targets week 1.
Crazy, man.
Cooper Kupp back in the Cooper Kupp role.
14 catches. Shout out to Steam in our fantasy league, drafted both of them. Or he kept Puka and then he drafted Cooper, which I thought was a little strange play. Worked out very well for him.
Yeah. Here's something we didn't know.
Yeah. Playing the Cards, I think that's a
good matchup.
Game. Yeah, that's a good matchup.
Good game there.
See if Marvin Harris can get some more balls. He looked like he's getting open a little bit, but him and Kyler need, I guess, again, chemistry, working on that. Haven't played much together. So
it's one game, I suppose, but
exactly.
A receiver as his talents you need to get him the ball.
Yep.
Bengals at the Chiefs. Hollywood Brown to IR.
Yeah.
Do we know his injury?
It was shoulder, wasn't it?
Shoulder.
And he needed, so they now have worked out he needs surgery, so it's not IR, but there's talk that the IR might be season ending, but the surgery might cause him to miss the rest of the season, which is, a big loss for the Chiefs. But I guess, with Rice potentially not getting suspended, he should be good. And then
I think they might have found Hollywood Brown 2.0.
Exactly. So, Worthy had some issues with hamstrings at the start of the in the off season, and hopefully he's right for the rest of the year. But they should be okay. And I think Chiefs have got the Bengals number of late, so they should win this.
How are the Broncos going to go at home to the Steelers?
Should be a pretty interesting game. Steelers defense is probably going to give us fits, but I'm not too worried about. It looks like Fields is going to be playing quarterback for them. No Russell Wilson returning back to Denver. It looks
Would have made a good story. But
yeah, I think they're going to rest him. Did you see he was inactive last week and he was in full kit?
Yeah.
Such a funny dude.
how did Bo Nix play last week?
I think he had moments, but then he also had rookie moments. I think he looked pretty nervous as well. His offensive line and rushing game gave him nothing, and I think the Seahawks defense played really well. I think they had, I think they almost had a 0 yards after catch because they tackled so well. They made very, very little yards, any yak in this game at all. So good credit there to Seahawks for playing very strong defense because their new head coach, of course, is the Ravens' ex-defensive coach. So they've hoping to have lifted on that side of the ball.
Their secondary is legit as well with Reek Wool and Julian Love back there. They're a pretty good secondary.
Yeah. And I think Denver played pretty well. They had a chance to win the game. They led at halftime. They had 2 safeties.
Weird, eh?
Yeah. So defensively, they played pretty well, and Seahawks kind of just got away from it in the third quarter and got out to a lead, and that was all she wrote. They started just hammering Walker, and who's also now injured, and it looks like Charbonnet is going to play start this week. So there you go.
Saturday Night Football's a bit of a fun one. The Bears have a very tough challenge ahead of them going to Houston to play the Texans and that high-powered offense. But it was Joe Mixon that looked the goods in week 1. And Monday Night Football, Battle of the Birds. Falcons have a tough challenge going to the city of brotherly love to take on the Eagles.
Yeah, Cousins looked rusty last week. So,
big time.
Yeah, we'll see how they go going up against the Eagles. But the Eagles look like they're going to be good challenges this year. Their squad built to go deep. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
The tush push was back, baby. And Jalen Hurts threw a few picks and made a few mistakes in that Packers game, and they still won. So.
Yeah, Saquon looks pretty good. So.
Bro.
So
we were all sleeping on him in our draft. Hurts is going to take away goal line touches.
I think it's flipped the other way. It seems like if they're inside the 10, then it's like Saquon, just get in there, bro.
Yeah, they looked pretty scary on offense. Bit of college football. Ewers got hurt today playing for Texas. Can you see amongst if there's any news around him? But it meant that Arch Manning came in and threw 5 tutters and had 67 rush yards.
Yeah, I think he was like 9 from 12 or something.
Just torching them.
He had long touchdowns, and the highlight one there's a 67-yard rushing touchdown because Manning. Kids shouldn't be Manning shouldn't be moving that quick.
7-yard touchdown run.
Yes.
It was one run.
Yeah. So he threw a 76-yard touchdown. He threw some dimes. His first pass when he came in was a touchdown. So they put him to the sword here. But he had a 67-yard rushing touchdown, which
I've got the footage here.
Which is
they've gone to the
wild.
2 seed, have they? Wow.
Yeah.
Because Georgia only won by a point at Kentucky. They were like $1.04.
Yeah, Manning managed to hold on and avoid the upset, but it's
funny story. Sportsbet have got the Georgia national flag for the University of Georgia up against Kentucky. Thought that was a bit funny. Sending it to you boys today. Good day for Georgians. We'll get to the UFC in just a sec.
Do you have an update on the injury there, Jimmy?
Yeah, does it say anything about his injury? Straining abdomen. Yeah, so I think. That's usually going to be a few weeks, at least. It depends on what it is.
Yeah, and especially for, say, a quarterback that needs a lot of rotation and
through your torso.
Through your torso. So, that's could be quite painful to try and play for. But the other thing is, the last thing you want is a Manning to walk into your spot and then
never play again.
Yeah, exactly. Take it over. And it's wild to think that Archer's only 19 too, so he's probably got another 2 years at Texas.
He looks boyish, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's also already 6'4" and 210.
It's just in the face.
Yeah, but that was his first pass that went for a touchdown.
He throws a tight spiral,
and that I think is the rushing touchdown. There you go, and a little jerk on the safety, and just had enough legs to run away from everyone else.
Yeah, he got a few a bit more wheels than his old man did. That's for sure.
Yeah, He's not Lamar or anything like that, but
No, not quite that quick.
yeah. But yeah, he played pretty well, and it was interesting to watch Texans going forward because they're looking for a national championship after missing out last year.
Watch this space. Go Horns.
Put that race back on you.
That'll do us for the NFL.
Yes.
Let's talk some cricket.
Oscar just took the lead in that.
We do have the F1 in the background. What are we? 23 laps. This is going to be good timing, I think. Lap 23 of 51. By the time we're talking F1, we should be
pretty close to
getting close to the end. But it's cricket time now. Australia smacked Scotland, as you'd expect, 3-0. Had the most runs ever in an international power play in that one when Travis Head went absolutely bonkers. He's been pretty good recently, hasn't he? They won the first game by 28 runs. Head 59 off 23. Short and Livingston. Short also made runs, and Livingston pretty good with the ball. England all out 151. Abbott and Zampa good with the ball in that one. And in game 2, England won by 3 wickets. Mitch Marsh was out with an illness, so that meant Travis Head had the captaincy role. Australia 6 for 193. Head 31 off 14 balls. He's striking pretty regularly around 200. Good to see Jake Fraser McGurk make his first international 50, and Inglis made 42. There's a fellow, Bryden Cass, who is playing his first international back after a gambling ban. Good thing he's not in the NFL. Fucking get a year and a half. He only got 3 months, I think. And it was all the Liam Livingston show in this one. He made 87 off 44 and had 2 wickets with the ball. Shout out to Matt Shaw in this one. 5 for 22. So not a whole bunch of Aussies would have 5-fers in international T20 cricket. Matt Shaw's one of them now. And he got Liam Livingston when they had 1 run to get and then got a wicket the next ball. He was actually on a Hattie ball. And I'm pretty sure his Hattie ball was also the ball that the winning runs got hit off. And you don't see shit like that very much. There's, I think they play in the morning. There's 5 of them into 3 ODIs, and then it's getting pretty close to the summer of cricket. Yeah,
actually starts in just under 2 hours.
Oh, really? That must be early. Must
11
be day game.
PM. Yeah.
Yeah, day game over there.
2 p.m. local, yep.
If anyone wanted to stay up all night, jeez.
It's always some sport.
Yeah, we've got this
racing to cricket.
F1's on at the moment.
Yep.
Spurs and Arsenal kick off at 11, I'm pretty sure. It's all happening. But I figure we're close enough to talk about Test cricket.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Well, on Test cricket, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Better than T20.
I think your question that everyone's talking about is, with Travis Head's form, should he be the opener that we thought he would be before Smudge
put his hand up?
Yeah, put his hand up, snuck his way in there, and used a bit of a veteran card and got the spot. Said, I'd like to have a go. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think he could.
It makes too much sense.
He could get you much like Warner could at the peak of his powers, really get you on top of a Test match after one session. If a bloke's out there and Australia's done for 160 at lunch, you can go the Bazball approach if you will, and go out and score fast and put the pressure straight back on the other team. And with Warner not being the man that he used to be over the last few years, barring
retiring,
but also over the last few years, really making a whole bunch of runs other than one Test against Pakistan. If Head was able to go out there and score at a fast rate, Marnus
wouldn't be an opener then. So.
Which Marnus essentially has been over the last few years, and really put the pressure back on the opposition. I would love to see it happen. I would like the boys to do whatever they feel comfortable doing as well. So if the chat has been that Trav is to go back opening and Smudge is to go back to his usual position at 4, where we've seen so much domination in years gone by, I'd love to see it. Yeah,
like I think for Smudge, he's not untested as an opener, but I think that examination's not finished. As in, he's probably, if you really wanted to know what he was as an opener, you probably need to give him more tests to kind of find his feet and to be able to conclude there's he's not an opener, we should put him back at 4.
Yeah.
But do you wait that long?
Not
that's
against
what I was gonna
yeah,
ask.
or do you just go, we'll just play the best players in their best positions and take it from there? And
that's
to me,
where-
that's head's got to be open.
Yeah, and where the tinkering at the start of the year when we played granted we did lose one test to the West Indies,
Yes.
but in a two-way test series, which doesn't really mean a whole lot of things
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things.
It's not a 5-set test series against India.
That's right. The tinkering could happen in the West Indies and in the New Zealand tests from the earlier in the year. Tinkering can't happen, the first test this summer against India when we've lost 2 series at home in a row against India.
Yeah, agree.
So they need to be 100% sure. They need to be 120% sure what they're doing leading into that. And I think, Travis Head putting the pressure on the Indians, and it's not going to happen every time. Aggression has risks, and Warner was often good for, even at the peak of his powers, an early
Toting that line.
dismissal,
He's gonna
but
follow
he
that
could also
line.
score 100 in a session.
Yeah, exactly.
Head could sort of be where Davey was sort of 8 years ago.
Yeah, agree. So what are we saying then? Are we trying?
So I'm saying
Head,
Uzi, Marnus,
Marnus,
Marge,
Marge.
and then you have to accommodate the two all rounders in Marsh and Green.
Green. So we're going the two big fellas.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think Green had that 174 knot against New Zealand.
I think
and
Green's only going from strength to strength. Like
Yeah,
the
and
more he's in the squad, the better he's getting and
100%.
will get. And I
his
think Marsh has
his
played.
fielding in the gully elite. Seems to catch just about everything that goes
Marsh's
through there.
fielding in slip work is also very, very good too. So, yeah, I think he's been batting pretty well as well.
Well, I've got the stat there. He's made 750 runs at an average of 47 since coming back to the Test team, and in 2024 actually hasn't been electric in red ball format cricket. It was more back end of last year and the Ashes last year, where he was scoring the majority of his runs. I think it's something like a ton and 750s or something since he's been back in the side after that 4-year hiatus and becoming Australia's most hated man in his own words. For mine, I think their form warrants. I don't think he can drop either of them.
Yeah.
And there's no one banging down the door.
Banging. Agree. Who's keeping?
I don't think there's too much at stake. I think Kerry probably keeps his gloves for now.
I tend to agree.
You wouldn't hate seeing Inglis come in, would you?
Oh.
Maybe not. I know you're a fan of him. Maybe
I'm always
I'm putting words in your mouth.
the young fellas and that. But, having said that, Alex is also not in his 30s yet. I think he's 29.
I think he is in his 30s. Chase that one up. It'd be early 30s. Yeah.
It'd be early, yeah. Like he's, again, he's still got plenty of cricket he could play.
Yeah,
for
he
Australia.
could play another 5 years plus if he wanted to. And also pretty handy in recent memory as well for us batting 7. And then I think pending fitness, the bowlers pick themselves.
Yeah, well, they're not changing.
Can you find an age there, Alex? Yeah.
That's English.
So Inglis is 29.
I think I'm thinking of when you said that, I was like, aren't you thinking about Philippi? I think that might have
Oh,
been.
you love Philippi as well.
'Cause
I don't think
he's-
he's played Test cricket anytime soon.
But he's the young fella. Sorry, that's kind of where that story comes from.
I'm with you. 33.
33,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's older than what you'd think. So I
it
said
Philippi?
I said 5 years. Maybe
Might
more
be.
like 3.
Yeah.
We still got to wait till November, so still a couple months away. But geez, the closer we get, the more we'll be talking about that. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Big Bash auction did happen since we last potted. It's
When's that
worth
kick off, by the way?
mentioning. I feel like
End
it's
of November?
I feel like it's November
As well?
Yeah, it's probably goes a little bit longer than what we would like. Lots of Poms there: Ben Duckett, James Vince, Laurie Evans, Jamie Overton, Tom Curran, Sam Billings, and others.
Does this auction matter? Like, aren't half these blokes not going to come?
Well, no, they come, but then they may not stay the whole time.
They might fuck off after a couple of
Which
weeks.
is where this Big Bash is really struggling for me and some of the other old fossils still around that think Test cricket's the pinnacle.
Well, in Australia, if you've gonna have big names come in and join squads, and then they fuck off after a couple of weeks.
Stupid, I think.
And then you struggle to have I guess your franchise faces being the Australians, the top 11, like, yeah, it's always going to struggle.
I'm happy to have big name international guys come out, but to bill it as like, oh, here come these international superstars, and then they play 4 games and then they're gone. I think it's a little bit misleading.
Yep.
But some other big names, Lockie Ferguson, Colin Munro, Finn Allen, so a few big Kiwis coming out. Shai Hope, the West Indians coming out. And I was a bit happy to see that Rakeem the Dream, Cornwall, despite making himself available, no team drafted him, unfortunately. I reckon he's drafted. Sell a few jerseys.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been fun.
100%.
He'd be a full fan favourite.
Yeah, definitely.
Get him on some KFC ads. Like, wow, what? These KFC buckets are empty?
Maybe Big Bash League and Rugby needs us to do their marketing for them.
Yeah.
That's some better ideas than what they've come up with.
Yeah, given our views, but maybe not. But yeah, that'll be kicking off relatively shortly. Rashid Khan is going to stay. I hadn't mentioned him there.
Retention.
Yeah, so like Quinton de Kock here is a good example.
I think the big one's probably for me. It's not in that list.
Is that this year? Double check that you've got the right year there, Monks.
September last year.
Yeah.
But seeing Davey Warner, probably most likely going to play a lot of it. Because he's of course retired now.
Yeah,
so that's good at least.
Yeah.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, again, marketing.
Again.
Yeah.
No one cares.
See if you can find it. I actually also don't really care.
I was not going to go any further into it. First game's on the 27th of October.
There you go. So it's pretty close, really.
Yeah.
Not that far away.
6 weeks.
That's the Women's Big Bash as well. Yeah. But no, that's Big Bash cricket. So Big Bash does start in October. I think you can go up here and you can select. Yeah.
Why did it default?
Yeah, 15th of December.
I was like, wildly different.
Yeah,
I was pretty sure it was school holiday.
Yeah, I was like, I swear it was late November, maybe early December, but I was like, let's roll with it.
We'll believe you today, Jimmy.
On fire.
That'll do us for cricket. Let's talk some soccer. EPL match week 4 is about 2/3 of the way through. All the Saturday games obviously have happened. United back in the winners' circle, 3-0 winners over Southampton. Onana saving a pen. He does some things that are a little bit frustrating, but he also does some pretty sick things. There's a good save down low to the right and really swung the momentum because Delete got the header about 3 minutes later, and then they were just peppering Ramsdale, the Saints keeper, at the other end. Interesting red card. I didn't think it was possibly a red card, but Saints skipper Jack Stevens got shown the red slice of cheese, and Garnacho did the old Neymar rolling. What's their song? Shooting Stars. He was rolling a fair while in that one. United win 3-0. And Liverpool have their first loss under Arne Slot, not Forest, having their first win at Anfield since 1969. Let that one sink in. The rest of the comp's starting going, like Liverpool's dropping games and not Forest.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't bode too well for City not winning again. They did concede early, 22 seconds in. Brentford scored, but the Viking had a double backing up his hat-trick in match week 3, which means he's got 7 goals in 4 games. So watch out, the record. It could be in danger there. City a perfect 4-0-0. Everton blew a 2-0 lead. It'd be hard to be a Toffees fan. They went down 3-2 to Aston Villa. And we're just talking about this pre-show. Chelsea, 1-0 winners over Bournemouth. 14 yellow cards, and you said it was
14 yellow cards.
Premier League record?
Premier League record,
for slices of cheese.
Yeah.
That's a pack of cheese.
Yeah. It is beating last year's record of 13 in the Tottenham-Sheffield United match back in September last year. It was, 2 days removed, yeah.
So something about the weather in September.
That's it. By all accounts, it just seemed like it was just a little bit of a dirty game.
Mate, it's September over there. The weather's like 18 degrees. And all hot heads. You know, it's too fucking hot. It's too fucking hot.
That's it, yeah. Even, did I say it was Chelsea's manager
Yeah,
got one? Yeah.
Enzo Maresca got
That's it.
one.
He got shown one as well. So, yeah, a bit fiery, that one.
Big time. I did see Cole Palmer's leading the league for assists so far. Didn't probably see him as much in the Euros as what a lot of people would have liked, but going off last season, fucking talented young player. I did see an Instagram video of him getting around, and to put it politely, good thing he's playing soccer. Not the best at giving interviews, we'll put it that way. Palace drew with Leicester 2-2. Brighton had a boring 0-0 draw with Ipswich, and Fulham had a draw with West Ham in the lesser clubs games yesterday. And then the big one of the weekend is the North London derby tonight, Spurs and Arsenal. That kicks off in about an hour. Arsenal have had the Mickey over the boys from Tottenham over last 4 games, 3 wins, 1 draw. So Arsenal, I think they're pretty short favourites tonight as well to win there. Monks has got
Again, what table are you looking at?
Yeah.
that's the girls. Under 18.
How's that? Literally all I did was Google EPL table and it took me straight to that.
Only you could get the under 18 before you go.
Allegedly.
I didn't mean it like that. Oh gosh. All right, well, that's typical of this of the podcast. In that we're looking at it. I'm glad we worked it out pretty quick. I was like, I don't remember Derby being in the.
I was
in
like,
the top
I don't
flight.
even recognise half these teams.
I couldn't figure it out because they had like 62 points. I was just like, I know, that's wrong. You got the wrong table.
All right, we have the actual Premier League, the top flight. Man City's only team on 12 points. 4 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. They've scored 11 goals, of which Erling Haaland has 7. It's going to be hoop and catch 'em. Liverpool and Aston Villa within QE, they're on 9. Brighton have actually started pretty well. They haven't lost. They're on 8. Not Forest in the same boat. Yeah. Forest played 4 games, only conceded 2 goals. Pretty
That's
good.
Promising for them.
Yeah, for a team that's only been up in the top flight 2 years. Arsenal with the game in hand, with a win tonight, could go to 2nd. United sitting in 10th, Tottenham 13th. And then if we scroll on down, danger zone, Everton
Still on the dominant.
0 wins, 0 draws, 4 losses, 0 points, goal difference -9. It's dangerous. Conceded 13 goals. That's probably the most worrying thing there, I think, from 4 games.
Yep.
Southampton also haven't won. And if you're getting belted at home by United, given that I've watched a fair bit of United football over the last few years, that's not a good thing. Wolves on a point, Ipswich, Palace, Leicester all on 2. Early days here, boys. Early days.
Early.
But, yeah, Everton will want to open their account pretty soon.
Yep.
Definitely.
Bit of international soccer, and another team that needs to get moving is the Socceroos. After going pretty much perfect in the second round, albeit Palestine, Lebanon, and Bangladesh in our group. Palestine haven't been through much in the last 18 months, and Lebanon, Bangladesh, big names in the footballing world. We did go 6 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses, 22 goals for, 0 goals against in that second round. Maybe we needed a few worthy opponents to play against, because we've started absolutely horrendously, and we're in legitimate trouble already in this last leg of qualifying. It is a 48-team World Cup, so it's a little different to how the AFC has looked in years past. We've got 3 groups. Top 2 from each group get the automatic qualification. You finish 3rd, there's still you can still make it through a playoff.
Yep.
Okay. It's a dangerous group because Saudi Arabia and Japan are in our group, and we haven't played either of them yet. So lost at home to Bahrain on the Gold Coast, which was a horrendous way to start, and especially from a late own goal in that one. And then 0-0 against Indonesia in Jakarta, also a very ordinary start. So we've got 1 point from our opening 2 games, and we still need to play Japan and Saudi Arabia twice.
Yep.
So I hate to say it already, but I think first and second might be out of the question, given that Japan is is 6 points and have 12 goals for and 0 against.
Yep.
And the Saudis are on 4 points too. So we're going to be looking at this playoff zone here. It's third and fourth, which is good. I think we are going to have to do it the hard way, and we're still, that's still very realistic.
Yep.
I think automatic qualification is starting to look difficult already. Just looking at their games upcoming, 10th of October, China in Adelaide Oval. That's pretty much must win.
Yep.
And they travel to Japan in the same international break. If they can jag a point in Japan, that would be really, really good.
Yep.
If they get beat, just get beat 1-0 because goal difference is going to be important.
That's a quick turnaround as well. 5 days between those two matches.
Yeah, they always do. So for the internationals break, they always try and get the two. So they'll play like a Thursday and a Tuesday or something, and then that way the international break doesn't affect the European clubs that much. Fuck, it'd be hard from a travel perspective.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the boys that play in Europe, which is most of our squad, although increasingly the A-League is having more of an impact. Maybe that has something to do with why we're struggling a little bit. Don't have as many players at big clubs in Europe anymore. Having said that, FC St. Pauli is up in Bundesliga this year. So they went up, and that's Jackson Irvine and Connor Metcalf's team. So, they're playing against Leverkusen and Bayern and Dortmund and shit twice a year. So that can only be good, I think, for their development. But it's going to be do or die, 10th of October against China. China have started off horrendously as well. So they're actually the team that are below us in the group there. So must win there. And if we can jag a point against Japan, semi back on track, I think.
Yeah.
But pretty unforeseen circumstances, only taking 1 point away from games against Bahrain and Indo.
Yeah, I agree.
Other thing from an Australian soccer perspective is that Tilly's still looking for a new coach. So Tony Gustafsson stepped down, obviously, after the Olympics. A little bit lackluster in their performance there, not getting out of the group. And the interim is to be announced probably before the next podcast, I think.
Okay.
And I think there is also a chance that the interim may be offered the full-time job pending results.
Yep.
Yeah. You just go on quick news search there. Matilda's coach search narrows before friendlies. They've got some friendlies upcoming. I haven't seen a whole heap of names thrown in the ring just yet. James Johnson, he's the Chief Executive Officer of Football Australia at the moment. I don't think he's hinted much. Just said they're now speaking with preferred candidates. Scroll down in that article there. I can't see any names there. We do have friendlies upcoming against Germany and Switzerland. So watch this space, I think. That'll lead us into the On The Esky final round. UFC 306 was renamed UFC Noche. It was sort of trying to celebrate Mexican history, Mexican independence, or maybe just Dana's plan to try and get some views going up against Canelo. I think that's probably more likely. First and possibly only event to be held at the Sphere.
Yep.
I don't know how much to read into that because it looked fucking sick. I don't know how running costs affect this as well.
I think from what Dana was saying, the UFC put out a lot of money. Whether they'll be able to recuperate it, that will be the question. So that'll depend on pay-per-view numbers. But yeah, it sounds like they did spend a lot. They went over budget essentially to try and make that the best event. Were some rumours that were struggling to sell tickets a couple of weeks ago because they were
$3,000.
Yeah, they were very expensive, and they dropped the price down to about $500, I think, and the event did sell out. But by all accounts, that Canelo fight had sold out already as well, and it was in Vegas too, I believe.
Same night, yeah.
Same night, so in same place. So, but it's talking about probably the best boxer in boxing going up against a UFC. So
the biggest name. Because we're looking at pound for pound.
Well, yes, but Canelo's Canelo. Everyone knows who Canelo is. So
just looking at the numbers real quick. So 16,000 showed up. There was $22 million at the gate. It was
highest grossing UFC event. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
to me, it's I don't know why you wouldn't rerun things at Sphere.
Yeah.
Because the optics were awesome, the walk-ins were cool, and then they had the blimp or helicopter, or whatever was taking the shots from outside of the
of the Sphere as well.
Yeah, it looks sick. Like
That's cool.
they were showing the fighters like on the Sphere, so you could be driving in Las Vegas and kind of had a little glimpse as to what's happening inside. And then going along with the whole Mexican theme and candy skulls and the ring girls dressed up. And I thought it was like in terms of optics, it was fun.
It was definitely a big event, and it was probably not the most top-heavy pay-per-view that potentially the UFC could put on with their biggest names, but it wasn't nothing to sneeze at either. So,
and I tell you what, and you maybe fell victim to this today because I messaged in the early main card, and I was like, "Are you boys watching this? This is fucking crazy." From a name perspective, the lower end, not much at all, and they were trying to go a heavy Mexican theme, get a lot of Mexican fighters in.
They didn't do too well, unfortunately. They went 2-6, I think.
Did they win 2? Yeah. Rodriguez was one and one in the prelims, I think.
Yes, the young fella, the 18-year-old.
It's not going to be in these notes.
You won't have him much. Yeah. Ross.
Anyway, they didn't do good.
Chinwaz.
Let's start actually at the start of the main card, and we'll work our way up.
The bentweight. One down the bottom.
Raul Rojas. Oh, yeah, he's real young, isn't he?
Yes.
In the early prelims. In the prelims at Irene Aldana. My God.
That was a cut and a half.
Is that the worst cut in UFC history?
Oh, it'd be definitely up there. It would make top 3, I'd say.
Yeah. I think
it looked like a knife attack, bro. Like, it was so bad.
I think top 3 is an interesting place to put it because the other examples I had there was the Robbie Lawler lip.
Yeah.
You remember that one against Rory McDonald? That's pretty nasty. I think this one actually looked worse.
Yeah.
I think Gregory Rodriguez, that forehead that Dana posted.
Yeah.
I reckon that looks nastier.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
there's definitely been some bad ones. So.
I think in that Rodriguez one, I think there's some bit of tissue that you can see in his forehead.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But also the one you can see his skull, like you can actually see the bone.
Yeah, I think you can see the skull, but I think you can see I don't know if it's tendon or there's something. In fact, I've got no idea what it is. But it looks graphic.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was as bad as that one.
Yeah. But for the ladies, it's probably the worst.
It's probably the worst. I think it's the worst one
I've seen in the women's fights for sure.
Yeah, if you've got a strong stomach, check it out. She did well to finish the fight, given this gash across the top of her right forehead. I think her eye's fine. Kind of went pretty close to that right eye, and then a little bit on the cheekbone.
Yeah, it was above the eyebrow, kind of came across and down the nose, got her on the snoz as well.
Gets us into the main card. No knockouts on a main card. Pretty rare for that to happen.
F1, Jimmy.
Ronaldo Rodriguez defeated Ode Osborne in the first fight of the night. This was one of the crazier fights that you'll see in that he nearly got knocked out and submitted in the first round.
Wow.
Cheers.
And then went on to hands down win the next 2 rounds. And was 2 seconds away, I reckon, from the ref jumping in the first round. So a really good turnaround there. In the lightweights, Esteban Ribovic beat Daniel Zellhuber, split decision in that one. This was just gunslinging.
Yeah, I saw a fair bit of this. So
punches exchanged.
it was a kickboxing fight. They just went back and forth.
Yeah, punches, kicks, not a whole lot of grappling. In this one, Rogan said one of the best fights I've seen in my life. I don't know how much of that's Mayo and the adrenaline of it post match, but that's got to mean something coming out of his mouth.
It does remind me of the jokes that people are making about being in the Sphere and how high was Rogan, how many edibles he had, with all that stuff on the big screens. He's probably like, "Whoa, what the fuck's going on?"
These giants are fighting.
Now, I'm not saying that I would do this, but if I'd spent somewhere between $500 and $2,000 on getting tickets for that event, and the visuals that were going on, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but if you're being paid to be there,
We're not saying anything about Joe, but out of the 16,000 strong in attendance, I'm going to make a wild assumption that there might have been something ingested that wasn't just beer or nicotine. All right, let's roll into the featherweight fight where Diego Lopez. This guy looks really good, and for Aussies, we need to be watching this one. I'm sure Volk would have been watching this one pretty carefully. Unanimous decision, absolutely pieced up Brian Ortega, who was formerly the number 3 in the division.
Yep.
This is an absolute clinic from Diego Lopez. He doesn't have a fight upcoming, so Holloway will fight Ilya Tapura at 308. Volk doesn't have a dance partner at this stage, so either Volk gets winner of 308 or loser of 308, or they give him Lopez. I think that's probably the most likely option here. Is Volk and Lopez upcoming?
Yeah, if Volk doesn't want to hang around, then that makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, and given that he's had 2 losses in a row, 3 with 2 Islam fights and Tapuria, I don't think. As much as I want him to have another title, I don't think he probably needs to go have a win before he gets another chance to win his old belt back. Yeah. Trilogy between Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso was a clinic from the Bullet, regaining her belt at the age of 36. Nearly exactly a year since they last fought. Grasso taking her belt off her in 285 in March of last year, and then they had a draw, which is a little bit strange the last time that they fought. So they're now 1-1-1. So what do you do there? That was the first female trilogy.
But I guess if you take the history of the belt, though,
Shevchenko's owned that division for a long time.
She had the belt. Grasso took it away. They had the draw, and now she's got it back.
Yeah,
so
and this was clip stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of full circle, as you will. Even though it's 1-1-1, it is full circle. We're back to where we started, essentially.
What John Anik kept saying, restoring order to the division.
Exactly.
Must be a Star Wars fan of John Anik. She had 8 takedowns in this one. Grasso had her back for a little bit, but she couldn't get the job done. This was all Shevchenko, who turns 37 in January. So it's hard to fight in your late 30s for the boys. You'd think there's even added pressure there. But being female, but obviously still
one of the best.
Yeah, one of the best, and will be a future Hall of Famer, and maybe goes 1, maybe 2 more attempts at defence, and maybe hangs them up as she approaches 40. All right, into the main event. Merab Dvalishvili and new champion of the bantamweight division, defeating Sugar Sean O'Malley in a pretty one-sided affair. We spoke about this leading into it. Striker versus wrestler. Merab has never been knocked out. We thought the only way he loses this fight was via knockout. And it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. And I think we had a little bit of that conversation about Merab, I think the fight went the way it was going to go. It was like his wrestling's just on a different level, even more than Aljamain's, and Sean just couldn't deal with it. He couldn't to me it looked like he was very hittable, but Sean couldn't connect. He couldn't press, go forward, couldn't throw shots because he knew as soon as he did, he was getting taken down. And that bull kind of takedown, just run through him, tackle him. That's the visual what it looks like, but it's just perfect execution of getting the double leg and taking down, getting top position, and then just be dominated from top position. Won every round, was deserved champ, and is going to be very difficult for anyone to take on in that division.
Once he shot, you had the feeling that the takedown was coming. And Sean really struggled with his takedown defence. Did give him a little bit late in that 5th round, and you thought, oh, God. And obviously O'Malley, known for his cardio, still had a bit left in the tank, but just couldn't connect with one of his famous knockouts, and we've got a new champion. So we spoke about Georgia earlier in the piece, the Georgia Bulldogs / Georgian flag on Sportsbet. Merab Dvalishvili fighting out of the US these days, but he's Georgian through and through. And Ilya Topuria, who fights out of Spain, is a Georgian man himself. So much like the Dagestani fighters, which is Russia, but it's a section of Russia, Georgia producing some elite fighters, and a lot of them have got the wrestling and sambo background.
Yeah, like you could see, like his striking didn't look as crisp as what Sean could do and put, but he just has such a background. He's got, and cardio up the wazoo, and to be able to, get takedowns at will, if you will, that he's going to be a pretty hard and dominant champion going forward.
I think it's pretty clear that Umar Nurmagomedov is going to get the next one. He's 18-0.
Yep. Yeah, they asked. I think Rogan asked him point blank. It was in the interview afterwards, is like, do you think it'll be him? And wishy-washy answer back. I don't think they wanted to commit to anything at this, but like you say, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, again, another very tactical grappling wrestling match might be what happens going forward. Or you never know, they both nullify each other out and they're just in there throwing bombs at each other. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. You know what would be good? Maybe we should put together an Esky GoFundMe to get Steve Blocker Roach to commentate Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili. I'm sure we'd get all kinds of iterations of their names.
It'll be gold shorts taking on red shorts.
It's more articulate than what Blocker normally comes up with.
Amazing.
Me think amazing. Anyways, we'll get the Esky GoFundMe going for Blocker. And confirmed, John Jones to take on Stipe Miocic at UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden.
Correct. And also confirmed at 309 is Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira. So not going to wait for Conor McGregor as well. Conor is a bit out of the loop. I think he was saying he's got 2 fights left on his deal and they can't make a fight get made. But I also heard that the UFC's in talks for viewership. So having Conor McGregor with 2 fights left on his contract is better for that potential, sell to Fox or someone like that, ESPN again, to get a better deal. So maybe they're waiting on him a little bit. So I've seen some talk about that. The UFC is in negotiations for their next TV rights deal.
307 not far away as well. Speaking of Ilya Topuria, that is NRL Grand Final day.
Yep.
So could have a pretty reasonable Sunday afternoon. Aussies down here. Most people have a public holiday on the Monday. That's only 3 weeks away. Let's go. So the UFC Noche Mexican theme going up against the
Canelo.
One of the biggest names in Mexican sports history. Canelo Alvarez beating Berlanga. The judges had it pretty one-sided. 2 of them scored at 118 and 109, 117 to 110. You watched this?
Yeah, I think pretty close to Canelo won every round. Maybe they didn't get the last one, but he got the knockdown in the third and then was very controlling. Berlanga, I think, was pretty willing, wanted to throw in this. He was the much larger man, as you've got the notes there.
6'1".
Yeah. Cuts a lot of weight to get to this.
5'8.5" for Canelo.
Had a good record, young fighter coming up, but Canelo's Canelo, and really showed his class and his ilk as the biggest name in boxing and one of the guys in the top 5 of the pound for pound. One of 4 dudes with unified belts. One of 3 dudes, I think we looked it up, of guys that have all the belts in their divisions.
I couldn't believe that he's only 34 years of age. He has 62 wins.
Yep.
He was nearly double anyone else. It was only Crawford in that pound for pound list that's even in the ballpark, with 40. So still like 22 wins less. But literally Canelo, when you compare him versus everyone else in that pound for pound list, which includes Usyk and Inoue and Crawford and Haney and the like, double. Pretty much anyone other than Terence Crawford in that list. So amazing longevity, but also just fight after fight after fight after fight in his early 20s. And looking back to a few of his losses, one of his losses I think he was 21 or something when he fought Floyd Mayweather. So he's had
and that's Floyd at the peak of his powers as well.
Yeah, incredible career, and still at the top of his game by all accounts. I've only seen bits and pieces. You sat and watched it. It's what's next for Canelo, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Be interesting when the pay-per-view numbers come out. All accounts, Canelo still
sold pretty well.
Yeah, going pretty well in that regard,
especially for ticket sales, and they sold out much earlier than the UFC did.
And top end boxing is still king.
Yeah, it is. There's still a lot of money in boxing, that's for sure.
Although when we speak about it a fair bit on this pod, I think a bit of a feeling of shift. I think in UFC versus boxing in. Anecdotally, who you talk to, at least on an Aussie level.
Yep.
But you can imagine how many millions of Mexicans would have been heavily invested in that fight.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
That'll wrap us in, lead us into a bit of the F1 Baku. Do you want to give us a...
Sure can.
Bastian Vettel.
So we are in Baku, lap 45 of 51 right now. Sean, you've been keeping an eye on this one.
Yeah, a bit of a nail biter at the moment. Oscar did take the lead, undercutting Leclerc in the pit stops. So they started the other way round to start the race. Leclerc was 1 and Oscar was 2nd. And for the last 20 laps, Leclerc has been within a second on Oscar's ass. So they're going back and forth on who's making small mistakes. But yeah, it's really close. And especially with this long straight, where they can get up to 340, 350 kilometres an hour. It can close the distance significantly. It's nail biting. It's the first corner is usually where they'll make that little dive, and you can see when Leclerc gets his DRS up here, he'll close that distance. And Oscar's been doing good. He takes this little inside line that forces Leclerc to go outside, but again safe. But that's a story of what it's been. Perez has closed, but he can't really close close enough. He did start 4th and has skipped Sainz, so he started 3rd. But I think the big story was to start the race was everyone kind of falling off in the back. There've been talk about Lando potentially pushing for a world championship. He started 17th in driver championship, started 17th. But with all the grid penalties and disqualifications from qualifying, because Gasly got disqualified. I think there was penalties for Zhu and someone else. I can't remember. But he started 15th. He's now up into 7th, chasing Verstappen, who's in 6th. And, essentially fighting over who's going to take a 1 or 2 point difference into the next race between the two of them. They're the two closest on the Drivers' Championship. But, a win here from Oscar and Leclerc, they're going to close the distance significantly to those two from this race results. And Russell's currently sitting there in the middle of 5th ahead of them. So, we're hoping here Oscar can hold on for the remaining 5 laps on very old tyres and see what happens. And other Australian, Danny Rick, is currently sitting in 15th, a bit off the pace with the Hasses, who Ollie Berman, I think, actually no, it's the Alpines. Ollie Berman's driving for Haas because Magnussen got suspended for too many penalties. So you get demerit points on his license. It's effectively that he could be too many instances of causing crashes. What's funny though is he doesn't have a drive next year, and his license gets reset after this race for being suspended. So could be carnage for the next 7 races. Post that, considering he's got plenty of points to spend. So we'll see what happens there. But the Argentinian for Williams, replacing Logan Sargent, did qualify 9th. That was pretty impressive. He's currently just sitting outside the points in 11th. And that's with Ranko, how do you say his last name? Colapinto?
That'd be it. Colapinto, I reckon.
Yeah. Yep. So a bit of a no-bite here. Looks like Oscar's eked out a 1.2 second lead here. So maybe Leclerc's struggling and he's got Perez right behind him. That doesn't make sense, those numbers. No, it does.
Are we watching the right race?
Yes, we are right in the right. But yes, Oscar has now outside DRS, and it looks like Leclerc is finally struggling on his tyres and Perez coming back. Fingers crossed, that looks good. 4 laps to go. Oscar might get another race win for the Australians. That'd be good to see. And that will bump him up significantly. They'll put him 225-ish, 223-ish.
The live leaderboard before said it'll put him up into fourth.
He's fourth at the moment.
He's already
staying
fourth.
sorry.
But so him and Charles will close distance to Lando and Max because they're currently sitting in 6th and 7th. So they get significantly less points, of course.
He's been fire since Austria.
Yeah.
He's gone 2 at Austria, 4 at Silverstone, 1 obviously in Hungary, and then 2 Belgium, 4 Netherlands, 2 Italy. Looks like he's at worst going to finish second here.
Yeah, he's on his way to potentially winning. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And then there's been a lot of talk about team orders with Lando and trying to help Lando win. And Oscar was like, they told me I could race, and we saw him take the lead in the last race with that big dive on Norris.
Yep.
A
lot of the chat this week was because of all that.
I think. But having said that, Leclerc also beat them just on strategy. So, that's the reason they didn't finish 1-2 was because Ferrari were just better. Well, Leclerc looks like he's in trouble. Perez is going to steal this spot for him, which, again, is awesome for Oscar if he can hold on and take this away.
Well, I mean, you've got, Perez Sainz right there behind him, so Leclerc could drop 2 places.
Yeah, if he drops 2 places, that's... Yep. Hopefully Oscar can scoot down the road and be well gone by then. So, it's looking up for the Australian. Is he going to be world champion this year? Oh, it's a tough ask, but he's been red hot. If he wins every race and Max finishes 6th, he's mathematically still a chance.
Mathematically.
One DNF for Max, you can close the distance significantly.
You're optimistic.
I'm very optimistic, but he's been, like you said, red hot. Fire.
They have come out saying that they're going to be a bit more strategic in the next couple races, and if Norris has got the preference, just to sort of try and close that gap. But then, it'll be interesting to see what happens for the rest of the season. Baku's obviously a very...
Don't give a fuck. He's going to win them all.
Have we spoken about this Baku course before on the pod?
I'm not sure we have. I love the course.
We've mentioned it,
street circuit, because it's one of the...
It's a very tight street circuit.
Yeah, but then it has the longest straight in F1 where you can really wind the engines out. I'm pretty sure Bottas was clocked last year doing 366 kilometres an hour down it. So that's top pace. Yeah, it's quick. And then they pull up within a couple hundred metres to then take the corner. So,
goes past that old fortress as well, which I've just
very seen.
Built.
It's like 2 foot wide going through there as well. Like it's so tight. There's a car's width to get around it. It's a pretty tight old course, and then flying down here.
Built in the 12th century, that thing.
And this is their main highway through here as well. This is like an 8-road highway or some shit going both ways. So they use that to do the race.
How long's Azerbaijan had a race?
At least 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I think Leclerc I think's had pole the last 4 years. I think that was the stat. But if you go back, when did it actually start?
Should have it here. 2017. Oh, Danny Rick won one.
Yep.
17, 18, 19, and then no COVID, and then 21, 22. This is the 7th.
7th. Oh, yeah.
So Danny Rick won the first one, followed by Lewis Hamilton, followed by Bottas, then COVID, and then Perez, Verstappen, Perez. Yeah, hopefully Piastri in about
2 laps.
Yeah, a few minutes.
He's 3.5 seconds clear.
There was one before that. It wasn't the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It was the European Grand Prix.
European Grand Prix.
So Baku has had
Baku had
one extra race.
The European Grand Prix in Asia. I'm pretty sure they play in Europe in FIFA, Azerbaijan.
You're right.
We'll sit in here in silence as we
I was going to say.
bite our nails.
Someone will talk.
2 laps to go.
All right, we're into lap.
Oh, there you go, Perez.
We're into lap 50.
Crash.
Oh!
Oh, just made the
close.
corner. Sainz going to get Perez. He does. And he's going to get Leclerc. Oh, gets it back up. And then Perez is going to dive.
Switch.
It's good racing. Oh, they crashed.
There's a crash.
Oh, there it is.
Called it. Oh, my God.
Huge.
Yeah, tight street circuit. And that'll be race done. Aussie's going to win.
Let's go! You hate to see
Well,
it. You
that's-
hate to see it. You hate to see it. Hopefully
Yellow
they're
flag.
okay.
Yeah, but that'll be
They-
safety car because they won't be able to get the cars.
Well, will they go red flag?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Red
Safety
flag
car's gonna crash
that'd be
into
race.
it.
That'd be race done. So
Yeah,
Oscar's
because
going
they'll
to win.
finish this lap and they'll finish.
What's-
There'll be one more lap after this. Will be
Why
last
is-
lap.
Oh, one more lap, and that's why Verstappen is pitted.
That's what I'm saying. If it goes red flag, do they have one last flying lap?
Yeah, they could, but that's wild to think that they've pitted him.
So for the people that are just listening, run us through what's happened. Who's crashed into who here?
It looks like Perez has hit Sainz. Well, Sainz is ahead, but I got to see if Sainz tries to close him off going into what would be corner 3. Because Sainz has got the lead here. They get a good run here. They both should have DRS, so it's a drag race essentially.
Corner. It's not a corner. It's on the straight.
Straight, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and I think they've touched tyres essentially front to back. Probably, I'm going to say that's Perez's fault. He was too close to Sainz, and Sainz didn't move across.
His front left tyre clipped his back right.
Yeah, but if you look Sainz, he's straight. He's not really coming across. And
What even happened then?
Yeah, it's just.
It was tyres.
Tyres.
hey?
So tyres,
just tyres.
tyres just grab, and that just spins him around straight away.
Here we go.
This is a big impact too. This is pushing 200. Bang,
Yeah,
straight into
because
the wall.
his steering wheel doesn't turn at
Yeah.
all.
So I'd say that's Perez's fault. Doesn't give him the room essentially, and tags him.
Saints.
Yeah, not good for the champion for Oscar potentially winning the championship because.
And not a good day for the Mexicans.
Yeah, no, not at all. Because that'll move Norris and Verstappen up into 4th and 5th. Yeah, virtual safety car. I think they're just going to finish it like that, and Oscar's going to win.
Aussie.
So he'll only make up 15 and 12 points on the other two, which is unfortunate. 7 on Leclerc. Yeah,
We'll wrap it up.
wrap it up. Oscar wins.
Jeez,
We'll take that.
what a way to finish.
Great way to finish. Good way to finish. You hate to see a crash. They're both okay. Piastri's going to win his 2nd Grand Prix. The checkered flag waiver is Naomi Campbell.
There you go.
Teams in the chat.
Let's go, Oscar Piastri. That concludes Baku. That concludes On The Esky for this fortnight. Next time, we'll be talking AFL Grand Final.
Yep.
We'll be talking lead up into likely Storm and Panthers.
The final, yeah.
I'd love to be wrong, but that's probably what we're looking at. NFL will be a month into things. We'll be inching closer and closer to the summer of cricket. And talking some UFC 307. Thanks for listening. If you have listened to the whole thing, you're a bloody legend. And if this is your first time coming across our content, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and chuck us a subscribe on the YouTube. We're usually here of a fortnight, and you can catch the episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This is On The Esky, Aussie Sports Podcast. Like our Aussie Sports, like our world sports. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Up the Aussies.